Oh. Oh. Hello. Howdy, howdy, everybody. Welcome, welcome. We're just getting started. Hope everybody's having a good start to their morning, though. Just adding some video ideas to my notepad. Please don't quantum manifest anything. It'll make me sad. Oh. Oh. Confustled, we don't do RHFD here. We do IBTLL, illuminated by the lava lamp. All right, let's take our first guest. Bro's gonna have to turn down his music. Let's take our first guest. Royal Halberdier, how's it going?
Hello, sir. I'm the same guy that was named Paul Axe Cleaver. I just changed my name.
Why'd you change your name?
Well, I just figured out the Paul Axe Cleaver sounds too cliche, so I decided to be a little bit historical. Okay, so I noticed that your life is called "Can You Convince Me to believe in your God?"
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm not gonna try to make this argument or debate versus debate. I'm gonna try to make it respectful as possible. That
Respectful
way,
can be
we don't have
debate.
to argue.
Like, you can have arguments that are respectful. So go ahead. Do you think that do you have an argument on behalf of your the thing that you believe in?
Yes, but my
Okay.
religion's kind of different because I don't really believe in Christian theologies, but rather Islam, since I'm a Muslim.
That's fine. So what's the argument?
Well, my argument is, do you truly believe that there's more than one God or something? Like, the Christians call Jesus a God.
No, I don't
but
think
to
that there
us,
are
it's
any
Allah.
gods.
I see. And do you believe that God might exist out there?
No, I don't. That's why I'm an atheist. I don't believe in any gods.
I respect that, sir. I really do.
Do you have an argument?
And probably not. I just want to come here to say hi because I'm a fan of your content.
All right, get out of here. Get out of here. All right, let's talk to Rojogan. I think we've spoken with Rojogan before, but oh nope, never mind. They didn't connect. All right, y'all. So we did just start like 4 minutes ago. So who's walking around and out there? Anyway, oh, sorry. So many yawns. All right, this time let's talk to Rojogan. Rojogan, how's it going? Rojogan?
I'm here. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, Rojogan. Your mic is really loud and there's some serious background noise. Can you handle that?
I'll try. Hold on.
Okay.
Is it better now?
Sounds like it is, yeah. So, Rojogan, do you believe in a god?
Yes.
Are you currently like outside because the wind is very loud?
Yeah, I'll try to see if I could sit in.
Can add a noise gate, but
Oh, is there a way to do that?
I mean, I can for the people who are watching on YouTube, but
All right. How's it? No, better.
it seems like it's better, yeah. So,
All right.
Rojogan, you believe in a god. Which one would that be, and what's the best argument for it?
Yeah, I believe in the existence of a God, and I was born in like a Muslim family, so I do accept that position to be more accurate than any other worldview. Um, but my like, so if you don't mind me asking you a question, like, do you believe that there are true things out there and false things out there? Do you believe in truth and falsehood?
I don't know
In
what you mean
terms
by
of
out there. I definitely think that there are propositions that are true and propositions that are false.
yeah, objectively.
Well,
So
objectively, in the sense that, like, given some sort of logical framework, then, you know, a proposition has a truth value or it has a false value. Sure.
and that logical framework is presupposed by you as true or false as well.
Well, axioms are kind of just like things that, or like concepts or ways that we do reasoning. At least logical axioms are. There are other axioms that don't really have much to do with reasoning. If you're asking, like, do there exist logical statements that exist outside of the human mind, I'm not sure that that makes sense.
No, I'm asking because I've run into this issue where I'm using logic to prove the existence of God, but then the atheist comes back and says it is a possibility that logic itself is not true, and we don't know. So they think they fall back on this "we don't know" phrase all the time. So do we? So that's before I get into this discussion. I need to know: Do you know for sure that the truth, objective truth about our reality, is knowable?
Sorry, one more time.
Is objective truth or about God, is the objective truth about God knowable or is it unknowable?
Well, let's say that the fact of the matter of whether or not there is a god, that's in principle knowable.
Okay. It's not, and I understand that some people can say it's unknown to them, but it is knowable.
At least it's not like provably unknowable. Like, I don't think that there's any obstruction to either knowing that God is real or that God is not real. I think that, you know, it's at least plausible that one could know that. Yeah.
Yeah, given the definition of God we are working with.
I mean, in the same way that we would say that, like it is knowable that the sky is blue. Like, you can just check, right? There are things that we can know. There are things that are true about the world around us. Yeah, I don't have an issue with that.
Is the sky really blue though?
Yeah, it's blue.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Or it just appears that way?
That's what it means for it to be blue. If it appears blue, that's what it means to be blue.
Not all the time, but anyway. It's yeah, so I start off by filtering out all my experiences as a child. Obviously, I cannot be born in a vacuum, so I am born somewhere. Everyone's born somewhere in some family, and our experiences and knowledge kind of informs us about what we accept as truth or falsehood. So if I was to take a position like the Cartesian skepticism and start from blank slate and say that, you know, where do I start from? So I exist. I accept that. I accept that logic will lead me to truth. I accept the valid testimony of people like scientists and scholars and historians to inform me about my past, and I accept my personal experience. Actually, the first one is a personal experience, which is I exist. So the strongest epistemic framework I have is that it is subjective, is that I exist for sure. That
Yeah, sure.
cannot be discounted at all. Anything else is based on presuppositions like, you know, my senses are reliable, or
Absolutely.
logic, yeah, logic is reliable. So based on these reasons, it makes sense for me that between the two dichotomies of theism versus atheism, theism makes more sense. It's just it's a preponderance of evidence that
Okay, what's
brings
the
all of that
evidence?
together. Like I said, like logic. So
How does logic get
I
you to
know,
God?
so I know that something has to exist eternally. You
Why?
can, because something cannot come from absolute nothingness. That's just that's the way
I
my
mean,
brain
like,
works.
so perhaps I should rephrase this. When you say eternally, do you mean that like there must have always been time?
Something. There must have been something
That there was
at
never
all
not
time.
time?
Um, I don't know how to define time in physics. Time itself is a mystery, right? They don't know what
I mean,
time
not
is.
really. Like, to an extent, like fundamentally perhaps, but like we can just define time as one of the means by which you separate space-time events.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can just talk about time as like a dimension of space-time. That's fine.
A dimension of space time. I don't even know what that means. I mean, I'm not a physicist. I'm not anything like that. I'm just going off of my personal experience of causation. So from the data that we have, that I'm relying on physicists for, is that we had a beginning at some point. The
Well,
universe
that's
started
not what
expanding.
physicists say.
The Big Bang is not defined as a beginning of the universe.
No.
Can we fact check that? Like Google it or something?
Yep.
ChatGPT.
Yeah, we absolutely can. Let me show you something.
Yeah.
This and this. One sec.
Last time I did do that because I ran into this issue where the person was denying that universe or the Big Bang is the beginning of the universe.
Okay, here, let me show you something. This was a survey that was conducted, I don't know, like last year of a whole bunch of physicists at a conference. And if you go to this question, where is it? This question. They asked, what is, in your opinion, how should we understand the Big Bang? And if you look at the, you know, the survey results, the most popular answer was a theory that says the universe evolved from a hot, dense state that says nothing about whether there was an absolute beginning of time or not.
So that hot dense state, was that part of the universe or is it outside the universe?
It was part of the universe, yeah. It was just the way the universe was 13.8 billion years ago.
And with all the laws of physics intact.
Yeah.
So the hot dense state changed its state from hot dense into an expanding state.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, that's how defined beginning. So
Well,
when I say,
so by
when
beginning, you don't mean that there wasn't anything before it?
not necessarily. So when I say the apple pie in my oven began to exist, I am not concerned about what the apple pie was before it became an apple pie. So sugar, flour,
Okay. Yeah,
all of
sure.
these things, apples, right? So when I say begin, I am defining it, taking into account that it led to my conscious experience. So only the hot dense state, as we know, could not have led to my conscious experience, but something happened
Well,
where
no, the point is the Big Bang model is so it's a theory that says your conscious experience, you wind the clock back 13.8 billion years, you end up at a hot dense state. That's what the Big Bang model is. So yeah, in some sense, your conscious experience does come from that. At least that's the idea.
Yeah, but in the hot dense state, it would have been impossible for life to exist.
Yeah, so life existed later, but
Right.
if you keep winding the clock back, you eventually end up at a hot dense state.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it wasn't the hot dense state. It was the state after that that allowed for like the laws, the constant universal constants.
The universal constants were present at the hot dense state too.
They were.
Yeah.
And it was just eternal universe.
No.
Eternal hot dense state.
No, that's not the claim. The claim is merely that the universe was hotter, denser, and in some sense smaller than it was today, 13.8 billion years ago.
But was it steady or was it expanding?
The Big Bang makes no claim about that. The Big Bang is only at 13.8 billion years ago, roughly. That's when our universe was very small. And then 13.8 billion years ago, minus 1 second, it was slightly bigger. And then minus 2 seconds, it was slightly bigger than that. And as you wind the clock forward again, it gets bigger and bigger. The point is it was small. Now, who knows what was going on before, like even before 13.8 billion years ago, but 13.8 billion years ago, it was small, and it was expanding, and it got bigger.
Right. So, I mean, so you're not making the claim that the hot dense state was eternal, right?
No.
Okay, good. So whatever finite event or event caused that finite dense state to exist, that's how I'm defining the universe to be. That's how the universe began.
Okay, but
What's the objection?
I guess, I mean, like, if you want to use the word that way, that's fine. It's just not clear that, like, that is a good dividing line for the beginning of the universe. Right? Like, there's no reason why, like, it couldn't have been, like, you know, for example, one of the popular models is that if you wind the clock back, you get to a small hot dense state 13.8 billion years ago, and then if you keep winding the clock back, it gets bigger again. And so, like, you know, in that case, there's not really like a sharp dividing line between or where the universe begins, right?
Okay, then the expansion contraction, was that eternal? We can ask that question.
Depends on who you ask, and depends on what models you're working with.
Yeah, so
in some sense, some models say yes, that the re-expansion is eternal back into the past. Some models will have like a re-expansion and a recollapse, and a re-expansion and a recollapse, kind of in an oscillating way back into the past. It just depends on what model you're working with.
Yeah, so any of those models for me, let's say, like, if I walk into a room, if I see a ball hovering in the room eternally, whether it be eternally or whether it be expanding and contracting eternally, I am still, if I expand that ball into this giant universe, the question still remains, is that why is that happening? Like, what is the prior reasoning behind it? And it's not really God of the gaps, because I'm using abductive reasoning. It's either eternal non-conscious energy or wave function, or bosons and fermions just floating in space, or an intelligent designer. Like, out of these 3-4 options, you don't have this. It's basically abductive reasoning. It's not God of the gaps argument. For me, taking into consideration like things like scripture, the Quran, taking into consideration like all the other factors, like the morality aspect, argument from morality, argument from teleology, all of these things gather up, and I've come to the conclusion that it is more likely that God exists than not. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's really my reasoning. But from a layman's perspective, I'm not a physicist nor am a theologian, but as a just an average person who wants to accept whatever the truth is, that's how I come to the conclusion. But yeah, I don't know. That's my position. But it was nice talking to you. Actually, I have to go, but like,
Okay.
you want to say something?
No, you're fine. Thanks for being here, Rojogun.
Okay.
I mean, it's fine. He just feels like he didn't really make an argument. Like, he doesn't have to. Like, he had to go. I get it, but I don't know. Something about that was strange. Oh, I missed. Okay, I'll read the super chats after this guest. Tyler, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing, Dr. Blitz?
I'm doing a-okay. Tyler, do you believe in a god?
No, I believe in scientism, but that's
Okay.
not necessarily what I came up here for, to be honest. I
Okay,
tried getting
but
here live
the
not too long ago.
Background is, can you convince me to believe in your god? So,
Yeah, I know. I just understand that you're a physicist. I'm also a physicist. I'm a theoretical physicist. I work at Cornell. I work at their LPS.
That's cool.
I have 16 published papers, and I was wondering if I could run a paper by you and see what your thoughts on it are.
best place to do that would probably be to join the Discord and then just send it out that way.
Okay, fair enough. I can do that. Thank you for.
I'm very skeptical of the people who say scientism, by the way. I don't actually know if he was legit. That makes me a little bit uneasy. I don't know if that's true. Iron Granny, how's it going?
Yo, what's up? Good, how are you?
I'm doing all right. Iron Granny, do you believe in a god?
Do you consider a collective consciousness a god?
Did it create the universe? And is it independent of the universe?
Kind of. It is the universe. You are the universe experiencing yourself. Is that?
Can a thing create itself?
I don't know.
Then probably
Maybe.
not. Thanks for being here, Iron Granny. Talk to Elis. Elis, how's it going?
Hi.
Oh,
just
super
wanted-
chats. Sorry, Elis,
I
go
just
ahead.
wanted to ask you, what was the name of the chart you showed about the Big Bang?
Mm-hmm.
So could you just tell the name so I can show it to other people?
Oh, yeah. Look up Copenhagen survey on black holes and fundamental physics.
Okay, thank you. Love your
course.
content.
Thanks. All right, super chats. Right, sorry about that. From JL with the $2 Australian. First Dr. Blitz stream this year. Keep educating. First, we're 16 days into the year. And then from Amin Ra with the $10. Just started watching you. Great knowledge, great show. Helping to educate people on science. I do my best. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, let's bring up Liam. For some reason, I recognize this name. Have we spoken with Liam before? Liam, how's it going?
I don't think you've spoken to me before, but I'm pretty famous on TikTok. I don't have hatred in my heart, but I see guys like you and your snowflake crew that talk about Christianity, and you're basically here to debunk religion and free people so that they can find their own truth, which is no truth. It's like the Big Bang theories, or theories of relativity, or fish walking out of the sea, whatever it might be. Atoms colliding. I'm
So
not
Liam,
sure what it is.
I don't. If we haven't
So you
spoken
kind of know
before,
where I'm
maybe you
coming
don't know.
from, right?
Well, I kind of, but not really. So if you haven't been here before, like I understand that you might have like a certain view of like the way I am. But look, if it's true, I want you to convince me that it's true, because I want to believe true things. So look, if you think that you have a compelling reason why I should believe in the God that you believe in, I'm all ears.
I mean, I'm an example guy, is what I am. I think the examples for me.
Liam,
really
your mic is
show
kind of
the
breaking up. Is
truth,
your
okay?
connection okay?
Yeah, it'll probably come in here in just 1 second. Let me be
Okay.
patient. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's much better now. Thanks. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
So yeah, I mean, I've watched you a couple times with that other guy that looks like the Lord of the Rings with the curly hair. I forget his name. He likes to talk
Ian.
about how people are blowing. Ian. People are blowing their back out, and all kinds of stuff.
Ian's
You
a
guys
funny
just
guy.
sit there and mock and laugh. Yeah, you sit there and laugh and mock Christians, and it's a pretty fun experience to watch you guys do that with no substance. But anyway, back to the conversation at hand right here. So like I said, I'm an example person. I like to live my life through like examples of other individuals who have paid the
You there? Liam.
Paul the
Liam,
Apostle.
Liam, you cut out there for a minute.
Who's?
I missed everything after the example.
Yeah, I said I like to follow the examples of individuals like Paul the Apostle. Did you hear that?
Well, I heard it now.
Okay, so Paul, arguably, Paul wrote a lot of the New Testament. Paul himself was a person of low morals, where he harmed a lot of Christians before he actually came to Christ, and then ultimately was unalived for his belief in the very end as well. Right? Can we agree on that?
I mean, look, I'll just believe you.
Okay.
Like, I don't know why you would lie to me about that. So, like, maybe Paul was a good dude. Maybe he turned his life around. But, like, why does that mean that I should think that there's a God?
I mean, it's like, the thing is, for me, it's like you have to look at these individuals, okay, and what they went through. It's like you're sitting in prison. You had these life experiences. You had nothing else to do but really examine your life. You weren't on TikTok going, here's the truth, people. Can you gift me and give me another snack? Send me some Starbucks as I'm going to have these conversations with you. I don't understand what this is. I really don't.
Well, Liam, why don't you just get to the point?
Yeah, my point is, like I said, they're examples. And your logic and your truth comes from what? Science, is that what it is? Your worldly today's science, is that what it is?
I think that science is generally like a pretty good way of figuring out what's true about the world. I mean, like, it's basically just having a guess, testing your guess. If your guess is wrong, you throw it out. If it's right, you keep testing it until you have good evidence that it's true. Like, it's
good. Like men can be women these days, right? That's kind of like the new science, right?
I mean, that is the scientific consensus that, like, gender and sex are different things. I don't think that the scientific consensus is that men can be women, but I understand that you just want to throw some shade on trans people because they bother you. But look, that's kind of not on topic. So do you have, like, a reason why I should think that God is real?
Yeah, I believe that, I mean, without faith, I mean, how do I have this conversation with you and convince you that God is real? How do I do that?
Look, so
do you have a need? Do you have a need for God in your life?
I don't know what that means.
Do you have a need for God? Do you have a need to call on God in your life?
I don't know what that means. Look, Liam, if your position,
do you have cancer?
If you come up, no, I don't. Liam, if you came up here and you were like, well, I don't know how I can convince somebody who doesn't already have faith, then it just sounds like you can't convince anybody, because the people that already have faith are going to believe the thing.
That's not the thing, dude. I'm asking you directly. I'm saying, do you have a need to call on God? Do you have a need to call on something greater than yourself?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I know you don't.
So then why would
question. I didn't come up here to convince you that God is real.
Wait,
You're not
Liam,
going to be convinced.
Look, Liam, I understand that, like, generally, like, MAGA brain rot people can't read, but, like, the background does say, can you convince me to believe in your God? Well, you called me a snowflake within 20 seconds of coming up onto the live, so, it was just a guess.
I mean, I believe that the YT men, kind of like yourself, were the demise and the cure of the United States of America, and it's kind of returning. I mean, we were probably to blame mostly for enslaving people in this country of color, black people. That was the pasty YT people. Now the far left liberals are turning around and just telling non-truth, okay? And your guys are doing
that's fine. Do you want to talk about the topic? Otherwise, I'm just going to move on to another guest.
I mean, I think we are having a conversation. Maybe you don't like it.
Well, the topic is, can you convince me to believe in a God, right? So, like, if you want to talk about politics, you'll have to wait till, like, next week on Thursday or something like that. Or you can go bother Dean and Parker.
Well, I'm pretty impressed that you know who I am, though. That's pretty.
Well, I recognize your name.
You have listened to that.
I think that you've probably been on Ian's show or maybe on Dean's show or something.
I have. This is the thing too. Ian was, like, really getting kind of
But look, Liam,
a little drill
rather than-
derogatory with me.
Why not, rather than
but
doing the
I
meta,
made the argument.
can you
with
actually
him.
make an argument or present a claim here, or present a case for the God that you believe in? Otherwise, it just seems like we're doing the meta, and it's not really a good use of either of our time.
Yeah, I think that my argument would be that I think that the biblical text of the prophets, in the Abrahamic religion, in Christianity, I think it's morally sound. The New Covenant, I really do. I think that's why I brought up Paul. I think that in the book of the Corinthians, how it talks about how a man and woman should honor each other and love each other. I don't think there's another example that any man that has been born into this world has set forth. I don't even think it's close.
So
okay?
Liam, maybe you're right. You may very well be right that the morals set out in the Christian scriptures are good morals. Now we could have that argument, but even if I just grant you that that's true, why does that mean that I should believe in a God?
Because if you were a morally sound person, you would go, that's my
You're cutting out.
I don't believe I am. No, there we go.
Now you're better.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
I don't understand what's going on with my damn reception.
I don't know.
Anyway, yeah, I think that it comes down to, I don't think you want to find the truth in morals, man. I think that morals to you are probably just subjective, so.
Well, look,
and that's fine.
I mean,
like I said,
whatever my meta ethics are, like I can absolutely agree that there are good things in the Christian Bible. Like, yeah, I'm even willing to grant that. Like, turn the other cheek. That's like pretty good advice, actually. Like, I think that that's great. But I just don't see why that means that I should think a God exists, rather than just there were some people 2,000 years ago who wrote down some ideas that were good.
Okay, you know what? Have you heard the quote before in the Bible where men will not know good from evil, like in the last days? They will call evil good and good evil. You've heard that, right?
Maybe correctly quoted. I imagine that probably wasn't a direct quote.
I didn't.
But look, I'm willing to believe you that that's in the Bible.
Okay, and in this day and age, like, we glorify the unalive of
You're cutting out again.
unborn children.
Sorry, one more time? Yeah, go ahead.
I said we glorify the unalive of the unborn.
You're cutting out again. Is this like Starlink?
No, it's not Starlink. I'll come back when I have better reception. I want this conversation with you.
Thanks for being here, bud. He wanted really, really badly to crash out. But you know what? I'm not in a crash out mood right now. All right, we have some super chats, and then we'll bring on our next guest. From jail, again, with the $2 Well, Lamau, I meant the first I've been here for this year. Well, yeah, I know, but we've been live 15 times before this, or something like that. From Gretchen, with the $3. Liam, Blitz ain't Parker. Stay on topic or GTFO. Yeah, right? I'm not Parker. I'm not Ian. I'm a lot nicer than... Well, Parker's pretty nice. I'm a lot nicer than Ian, and I also want to stay on topic. From Simeon Urchin with the $10. Thank you so much, Simeon. We just read a paper in my climate change class that I feel like you might like for debate notes, and is Relationships Among Conspiratorial Beliefs, Conservatism, and Climate Skepticism Across Nations. If I may have seen that already, but if I haven't, just send it in my Discord server. I'd love to have more data and data points on this. And from Eric S. with the $2, not even noon yet, and this guy is hammered. Nice. Indeed. Nice indeed. All right, let's talk to Rome Pippin. Oh yeah, by the way, go to the Discord. It's discord.gg/drblitz. Make sure to only go if you're 18+, but that's the place to go. Rome Pippin, how's it going?
Hey. How's it going, man?
I'm doing all right. Rome, do you believe in a God?
Absolutely, I believe in the one and true creator.
Okay.
I definitely do believe there is a God, a creator of the universe and the sustainer. But I wanted to pose a question, right? I was going to ask you, And I see you're, pretty much into science as well, which is good. I see a lot of atheists are. Uh, so if someone was to bring an object, right, unidentified, you weren't able to re-engineer it, uh, reverse engineer rather, um, and it's unknown. I mean, who would be able to tell you about the workings of this object or tell you about it?
Presumably nobody if it's unknown.
All right, let me make it a bit where you can understand, right? So, in the concept of new inventions, there are new inventions that, on a worldly plane that other people haven't known about, and without being able to reverse engineer it, right? Only the inventor could tell you about that object. Would you agree?
I can't think of a single invention that isn't reverse engineerable.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Without being able to reverse engineer that object, just the concept, right? It's a new object. It's brand new. There's been tons. So I just want to see if that's something that you can factually agree on, that if it's a new object that's been brought without being able to reverse engineer it, if the inventor is the one who made it, then only the inventor.
Sure. Like if somebody comes out with a new invention before anybody has reverse engineered it, then yeah, probably the only inventor would know how it works. I mean, I guess if it's like sufficiently complicated, right? Like sometimes somebody has an idea. Yeah, but sure, absolutely.
Okay, absolutely, perfect. So now, how would you say the universe? Well, I guess that the Big Bang is what you believe in. Okay, so you believe in the Big Bang.
Yep.
So I want to mention that the Quran speaks about this, 1400 years ago. And when in science did they reveal that the universe is expanding?
Oh, this was in the 20s.
21st century, right?
20th century.
Yeah,
it was in the 1920s. Yeah.
20, yeah, okay, great. So, this has been actually revealed in the Quran 1400 years ago before science had mentioned this, right? Now, you may say, you took a lucky guess.
Well, wait a minute, was it? I mean, like, if that's true, why did it take a Catholic priest to come up with the Big Bang Theory?
So, it was revealed in the Quran. I'll bring up the surah for you here. It's several of them. So, and this was a text from 1400 years ago, revealed by the Prophet Muhammad, who could not read or write. There were more eloquent speakers than this man at the time, like people who did poetry and of that nature. And so, being a person who was not educated, he was, well, I wouldn't say educated. I would say not being able to read or write, illiterate rather, because he still had some form of, we still had some form of education at that time. It was a time of trade, and he was known as a trustworthy person. Nonetheless, right, Surah 21, 30, this is the first description of it. It says, "Do the disbelievers not realize that the heavens were once one mass? Then we split them apart, and we created from every living thing, from water every living thing. Will they not then believe?" I believe there's another verse that goes on to say, indeed,
but
God
not
is
every
the
living thing is
expander.
made just from water, right?
No, not just, but I'm talking about specifically the Big Bang, right?
But look, there are a lot of different cosmologies in a lot of different religions that make like claims about the way the universe got here, and some of them sound almost right. Like you can go look into like the Bhagavad Gita, or the Bhagavad Purana, and the Bhagavad Purana talks about like something that's very, very similar to the way that we understand the inflationary multiverse. But like that doesn't mean that they knew about the inflationary multiverse, 3,000 years ago.
So you're saying it's probably a lucky guess, right?
What I'm saying is that like suggesting that there are many worlds like our own, or suggesting that the universe was once once the size of a fist and God held it in his hand and then created, like these are just like the kinds of imagery that I just don't find particularly surprising. So
what I'm bringing to light is that if I can also, I think I found the exact one I was trying to get to here. I think it's 47. So here. 2nd. Oh, it's 51. Yeah, so it also says here, right? And that's what I'm talking about. As far as the universe expanding. Now, this was a text that was revealed, like I said, 1400 years ago. And in the 7th century, no one had these proceedings, and so
I don't know what you mean by that. Like, there are ancient Hindu texts that talk about like the universe emerging from a cosmic egg, and that's like an almost word for word description of the way that Georges Lemaitre described it, like the guy who created the Big Bang. So like these are ideas that were not original.
Understood, but let's keep in mind that even
Quran.
though they may have been able to find that out, we have to take into place, like, for example, right, if you're in the United States and before technology, before being able to actually spread our communications, like we're talking about 7th century technology.
So what
he would have not known.
I don't know if you know this. What I'm talking about is like 3,000-year-old theology.
Understand. Even so,
So
right,
like this is stuff that predates even Islam.
I understand what you're getting at, and that's not a problem. But I'm just going to read this verse. It says, "We built the universe with great might, and we are certainly expanding it." And so that talks about like you said, it's been confirmed by science in the 20th century, even though there have been slight proofs, or from even before Muhammad's time, right? But what I'm also identifying
Right. So then,
is
would you say that the evidence that we have from the 20th century confirms Hinduism?
No, what I'm pointing to, because this is one thing I'm just bringing out, because I want to move forward from this. This is not even where I'm staying.
Sure.
Right?
Okay.
So I'm just mentioning that in that time, the Prophet Muhammad didn't know about India or had even gone there.
I'm not saying he did.
Studied.
What I'm saying is that these ideas are not so. It's not so unexpected that people would come up with these ideas, right?
Right. So it's
like these ideas seem fairly common for like cosmology for cosmogonies.
So that's understandable. And the next part I wanted to bring up is also, what's the nature of the moon's light, would you say?
Comes from the sun.
Right, so it's luminous.
It's reflective.
It's reflective, correct. And so again, this has been revealed in the Quran 1400 years ago, right? And in Surah 25:61, it says, "Blessed is he who has placed in the sky great stars and placed therein a burning lamp and a luminous moon." So it also reveals that the moonlight was reflected from the 7th century. And when would you say science found this out?
Well, ancient Greek philosophers knew this. Anaxagoras, which was 5th century BC, made this observation.
Understandable, but remember, we're talking about someone, even though those things have been identified, confirming signs, even though they're saying that, oh, it was before that, we still have to admit that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, could not have known about these things because he was unable to read.
No, he obviously could have known about these things. For example, he also knew about like ancient Hebrew and Christian traditions, right?
But he did not know how to read nor write.
You don't need to know how to read or write to learn stories.
Yeah, but even so, right? Okay, let's just say he made a wild guess, because currently some people
Who says that he made a wild guess? Like, look, what's interesting is that if you go look at like a lot of the miraculous claims that people refer to with regards to the Quran, like the stuff about fetal development, the stuff about where semen comes from, all of these things, much of it can be traced back to like ancient Greeks. So it actually seems fairly plausible that the things that Muhammad knew, the things that Muhammad claimed, were absolutely things that he learned from his various interactions as a merchant.
Yeah, but what I'm showing is that at that time, there would have been things that he would not have known, and he did not write anything of his own in
How
the
do you know that he
Quran.
wouldn't have known these things?
What I'm saying to you is that, not being able to read nor write, he received the oral revelation from God.
Look, you realize that most people couldn't read or write back then. That doesn't mean that most people didn't know anything.
Yes, but even so, the eloquence that the Quran was revealed in, right? That's why a lot of the poets at that time were saying that this man is no more than a poet, because he was just speaking so eloquently. So and remember, as I'm going to tell you,
that's great, but that seems like a pivot, because we're pivoting away from, oh, he knew things that he shouldn't be able to know, to, oh, now the writing is very elegant. Like,
no, I'm not pivoting. So let me stay on that since you're there. There are things that he did not know, even though you're saying that he could have known them.
Like what?
And so,
and how do you know that he didn't know them?
Because the Quran is not the writings of the Prophet.
I never said that. I never said that they were.
Correct. So if
What does that have to do
they're
with
not
anything?
his,
The
correct.
point is
So
that
it's a
the Quran
revelation.
is that the Quran could be. Look, the contention here is: were things revealed by the angel Gabriel, or was it made up by Muhammad? Right? Like those. Those are the two options that we have basically. And plausibly, Muhammad could have very well known a lot of these things. Like he could have been familiar with Hippocrates. He could have been familiar with Anaxagoras. Like, you know, even fairly, even people who were illiterate could still very well know a lot of these things because that's how information was transferred. It was transferred via story. It was transferred via like oral instruction, etc. So it's just not clear that like the only way he could have known these things is via Gabriel.
No problem. Let's continue, right? So, now, what would you say the geological functions of the mountain have as far as the tectonic
They don't really have
plates?
functions.
Yeah, they serve as pegs.
No, they don't. I know that that's what the Quran says, but that's not like a thing that they actually do. They don't do anything, right?
They actually do.
What do they do?
Okay, so if we look at even tectonic plate movement,
Mm-hmm.
and when we have folding mountains, right? The mountain didn't like fold and create a mountain and then decide to split apart.
I don't
So
know
the
what
fact
I don't know
that
what you mean by folding mountains.
yeah, right. So when two tectonic plates move into each other, a mountain can be formed. Those are called, I've learned about mountains even in geography class, and folding mountains are one of them, right?
What?
So
Okay,
even
so
in
what are the folding mountains? What's the folding part of the folding mountains?
where two tectonic plates meet and upon colliding together, it forms a mountain.
Are those really called folding mountains? I thought that those were called. Well, I actually thought that they were just called mountains because I'm pretty sure that's all mountains.
Yeah, but the way it created, so not all mountains were formed through tectonic plate
I'm
movement.
pretty sure they are. Well, there's mountains formed via tectonic plates and mountains formed via volcanism, and I think that that's it.
Yeah, but just like I'm saying, it still holds the two tectonic plates once they come together.
No, it doesn't hold them. When two tectonic plates come together, one will go over the other, and that's what the mountain is. It doesn't hold it. It's just one is shoved on top of the other because they can't overlap. In fact, they keep moving, they keep growing. They're not being held in place.
All right, that's your clip. No problem, no problem. Let's keep going. So now,
look. So here's my question. You have a lot of. It looks like you looked a lot into the Quran, and then you've looked a lot into the scientific miracles as claimed in the Quran. Have you actually checked if these scientific miracles are scientific miracles? Have you checked if these things were known about beforehand, or if they're even true? Because like it seems like you haven't, and that's kind of worrying.
No, I have, but I get it. Your own finds.
Bother you that
No.
that all of the scientific claims you've made were either known before or are wrong?
No, so what I'm explaining to you is that these scientific claims, even though they're attributing it to a time prior, they're not exact, right? They're only
They're literally they're literally the same claims as those made in the Quran.
No. And even if you're saying that they are, right? Even if I grant you that, which we know that they aren't, but even if I grant you that, just for Pete's sake, right? We can say that there is no way a 7th century man being where he is, not having, I'm talking about an individual, even though, right? This man has fought wars. By the time he was age 40, he still was not able to read nor write, even
Most
from
people
knowing
couldn't.
stories. Exactly.
I don't
And
even think
so-
Anaxagoras could read and write, by the way.
Right. And so there's no way that a 7th century man would be able to know about the Big Bang, the universe expanding, the moon's reflected light, the embryonic stages, or even like creation and periods. How about even iron, right?
He's wrong about the iron thing. Iron doesn't come from space. Most of the iron formed with Earth. But look,
so the iron's from the
with
Earth's
regards
core,
to the
is it not?
mountains, he was wrong. With regards to the moon's phases, that was known prior. With regards to the Big Bang, that's a common religious cosmogony. Which, so he wasn't really right about it. He just guessed in the same way that everybody else guessed. So it seems like there's just not a whole lot to
You would
this.
say that. Well, the thing is, that's your
He was
own
also wrong on
speculation.
he was also wrong on embryology, by the way.
No, definitely not.
And not only was he wrong, he was copying Hippocrates.
No, he's definitely not wrong.
He is.
Like I said, it's
the
not,
bone.
you know,
The bone doesn't form first, and then the flesh cover it. That's not the order in which embryological development happens.
that's not what it says.
It
That's not
is what it says.
No, that's not what it says. You have to bring this through.
Hold on, I'll pull
verse,
it up.
But,
I will pull it up.
but you know, I mean, do you know about the law of probability?
There is not one law of probability, but I imagine I know where you're going with this. Yeah.
The theory of probability, or however you want to coin it. So, I mean, for him to guess one correctly, I mean, that would be like, you know, 1 in, I don't know.
Here, let me show you
Maybe-
something. You see this?
Yeah, sure.
This is the relevant verse, right?
What's true in verse 23:14? Sure.
23:14, indeed. I just have a few different translations because people like different translations. We then developed the drop into a clinging clot, then developed the clot into a lump of flesh, then developed the lump into bones, then clothed the bones with flesh, then we brought it into being as new creation. So first of all, zygote is not a clinging clot. It's not a clot at all. Second, the bones don't form before the flesh.
That's not what it's saying.
Then develop the
saying
lump
it-
into bones, then, meaning after, clothe the bones with flesh.
Yeah, that's not what it's saying. And I think
I'm sure
which
it's
verse
not.
are you on?
This is
You're on
23:14.
23:14. Let me explain that for you so you have a better understanding. So what it's talking about there is the muscles, right, developed into your bones, because or muscles are attached to our bones. So the lump, it's the muscles.
Oh, but it doesn't
And
say
then-
that, right?
Yeah, but that's the thing about that's the thing, right? It doesn't necessarily have to exactly say that. The fact that we can
So it
have
doesn't have
this
to get it
much
right?
information. Hold on, let me explain
Okay.
why. This is 7th century revelation that is just founded out even in the 20th century. Like, how would he have known this?
No, so to be clear, this description is given by Hippocrates, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
This
but
is
I
like
said,
exactly
this
in
prob-
line with the ancient Greek Greek
That's what I'm
physician
trying to show you, right?
Hippocrates.
There is no other book. There's no other book that has all of these revelations that this one man was able to reveal all within the 7th century. And so a probability of guessing all correctly is literally like, 1 in 1,000.
Who said anything about guessing? Dude was clearly well traveled. He was a merchant. He spoke with a lot of people. That's what merchants do. They speak with people from
Yeah,
distant
but
places. Of course he's going to learn things.
He did not speak Arabic this eloquently. And
Who
so
cares?
this revelation, exactly. Who cares?
How is that relevant? The elegance is not relevant to the validity of the scientific claim.
It's utmost relevant because there is no way that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, would be able to make 10 incredibly lucky scientific guesses, which is mathematically impossible.
But lots of them are wrong. Like this whole business
They're
with
not.
embryology is wrong. For example,
it's not wrong. I just explained to you.
bones and muscle develop simultaneously.
Exactly. So that's why it's saying
which is not the order in which this
It's
happens.
developed into. That's what it says. It says.
So if the lump of
into a lump of flesh, then develop the lump into
if the
bones.
lump of
then
flesh
clothe
if the
it.
lump of flesh is muscle, then it says into a lump of flesh, and then develop the lump into bones, which would make it seem like the bones came after the muscles. If the lump of flesh is if the flesh that clothes the bones is the muscles, then this makes it seem like the muscles formed after the bones. No interpretation of this text leads you to the conclusion that they form simultaneously.
Yes, so let's read it coherently. Then developed a clot into a lump of flesh, into a lump, then developed the lump into bones. So our muscles are attached to our bones, and then those bones are covered then with flesh. And that is exactly the way it works.
It's not. Do you want to talk to a physician who's also fluent in Arabic?
I've already checked this out because I've had this
Okay.
conversation already, but it's very much so. And
Hamis,
so
how's it going? You're a physician and you're fluent in Arabic.
good.
Can you speak on this and clear things up for us, please?
So, before we get into if the validity of the claim, one the way that people believe that the Prophet came up with this is through his through Al-Harith ibn Kalda, who is known as Tabib al-Arab, or the physician of the herbs, and he studied in Gundajapur in Persia, which had the works of Galen translated.
Oh, it was Galen, not Hippocrates. That's what I was thinking of.
And his work was translated and taught in Gondeshapur, which Al-Harith ibn Kalda studied at. That is just before we get into the validity of the claim of embryology in the Quran. Now, if you go into the Quran, Rome, are you Sunni?
No, go ahead. Just
are you Sunni or?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't change.
It does matter. It does change
no,
everything. Are you Sunni?
It doesn't matter. Go ahead.
It does. Sure, fine. Then I'm gonna give you Shia hadiths, and you're gonna have to take them then.
No, I don't have to take them. But go ahead.
Sure. Then again, what do you take? What are your sources?
So
you take the Sunnah of the Prophet.
When we look at
could you answer the question?
Only the valid one's fine. But when we look at what is, I mean, if you have something to say, I want to let you speak. I don't want to actually cut you off. So go ahead.
Go ahead.
Like I said, I'm not sure where you're getting your facts from, but even the shape of the embryo, like a leech, has been described.
It doesn't look like a leech, Javi.
Yes, it does.
No,
are you being
doesn't.
serious?
Yes, I am.
No,
the pictures you've seen, the pictures you've seen are incomplete embryos in which the pericardium and the fetal liver have been removed.
You see, it's like the denial. So even if in the slightest form,
this is basic embryology. The pictures you've seen are not actual complete.
Just so that's the thing. It doesn't have to be complete if there's a mention
just so I can help you out here.
That
Ems is a physician. He's a medical doctor. So he went to medical school. Presumably, he knows things about embryology. He knows things about anatomy and physiology. It's not like he's just making this up, right?
So on day 24 about the embryo. So you're telling me about day 23 to 25 or so, it does not visibly look like a leech?
Habibi, the clinging clot that you're talking about, according to the Prophet, is between the days of 40 to 80, according to Bukhari 3208. He says that the first stage, which is the collection of semen in the womb, happens in the first 40 days, and then the clinging clot, which is actually described as a clinging clot of blood, which is not which is not a leech. The clinging clot of blood is between the days of 40 to 80. And no, between 24 days it is not. It does not look like a leech.
By the way, I have a picture of a human embryo physiology.
I would say if you want to bring up a picture for the viewers to see of
here we go.
You bring up my book.
Yeah, let's bring it
here.
Mm-hmm.
13. See 13 there? Does that look like a leech to you? Because that's 28 days. It just looks like a blob. It's not a leech.
Yeah, so what so it's not day 28, it's around day 24. So you guys don't actually have that up there.
Well, yeah, so like it's going to look even more like a blob and less like something that is like long and slender.
No.
So
because when you look at, all right, so I want you to pull up the exact all of the stages from day 1 going forward, because you can't start from there.
I will look for them. But they're not like, you realize that past a certain point it's microscopic, right?
And that's what I'm showing you. That
here, I think I found another picture.
Right?
Wait, no, but the thing is a microscopic thing doesn't look like a leech, right?
Yeah, I'm not saying if it's microscopic.
Could you put me on the screen?
No, because we're on YouTube as well.
Oh, well, could you search up the?
Actually, can you send it to me and I'll pull it up on Discord if you can.
And oh my God, it speaks about that. Actually looking like a treated substance by the time it's actually on day 28. So that's exactly what it says. Let me actually pull that up too.
Ems, you have me on Discord, right? I realize I might not have Ems on Discord actually. Or maybe you can send it to me on my phone on TikTok. Maybe no, you probably won't be able to do that. I mean, I can just go look up like what the human body or what the human fetus looks like at 24 days, but I can't find any good pictures.
I sent it to you on Ian's chat.
Okay. People are going to be very upset. But, by the way, I'm going to add you as a friend. Does that look too much like a... No, I think we're probably okay.
So this is the 24 days, according to the Prophet, is the first stage, not the second stage. And again, the second stage does not refer to a leech.
This is not safe for work. This is very safe for work. It just looks that way.
Yeah.
So here we have 22 days and 23 days.
The third week is when the trilaminar disc is produced, which is described as the which the stage in which the
that doesn't really show us the it doesn't really show
that's
us
the embryo at 22 days and 21 days.
So
22 and 23.
That's why in the that's why the verse it says, and we made it the clot into a true lump. And so that's why the picture you showed before, like you said, it looks like a blob. That's exactly how it looks as it's forming. So there's several descriptions, not only from the leech description, but also from it looking like a true lump. And that's exactly what the Quran describes. So I'm not sure.
Again, you're not listening to what is being said. Again,
so is it a leech or a lump?
The first stage.
No,
the first stage.
It
Rome. The first
changes
stage.
form, of course.
The
It's
first
evolving,
stage.
right? We're not just.
Could you listen?
Go ahead.
The first stage, the first 40 days, is the collection of semen in the womb, according to your Prophet, in Muslim and in Bukhari in at least 20 different narrations. The second stage is the stage of the blood clot, which is between the days of 40 to 80. And then the third stage is the stage of the mudra, or the chewed up piece of flesh, the chewed up piece of flesh that has no characteristics, between the days of 80 to 120. And then after the days of 120, that is when bones form. This is the embryology of the Quran. So again, even if you claim that at the days of 24 it looks like a leech, which is again, that is not what the Arabic is saying, that is not what the Prophet said, according to the timeline, it would still be wrong. Because again, the first stage is the collection of semen in the womb for 40 days.
Where in the Quran does it say that?
It doesn't say that in the Quran. The timeline is mentioned in 20 different narrations in Bukhari and Muslim.
Yeah, but we have to go based on the Quran. That's what I'm saying.
You reject the Sunnah then?
The Quran is the
You
word
reject
of
the Sunnah.
God. I'm just saying.
Do you reject the Sunnah?
I'm sticking to the Quran because that's what my
So you're
conversation
rejecting the
was based
Sunnah.
on.
Okay, we're gonna stick to
Hold
the Quran.
on. No, we don't have to. We don't have to
Do you
go
reject
to
the
the
Sunnah?
Sunnah. We don't have to.
Do you
No,
reject-
it's
no,
not
we
about
do.
me rejecting the Sunnah. No, we don't.
If
Because
we have the Prophet explaining the verse
I'm
in authentic narrations, if he's explaining the verse in an authentic narration, I'm gonna go off the word of your Prophet instead of your
no,
word.
I have to go off the words of the Quran and how they were revealed.
So your Prophet is stupid.
This
I'm
is
not
an
saying
interesting
the
take.
Prophet
So
is-
Rome, were you raised in the United States?
Yeah.
Were you raised in a Christian household?
Correct.
The view that you're taking is a very Protestant view of Islam. And the reason I say that is because it is a very Protestant thing to do, where you just say, I'm just going to go off the Bible. I'm not going to listen to anyone else. That's
So
just
that
not how
Bible is
Islam
different.
works.
No. But you can't say how it works. because,
Islam
it's not
doesn't
something
just
you
work.
practice.
Islam
Let's
doesn't
not-
just work.
No.
Okay, we'll talk to Ems then. Ems is a former Muslim. Islam is not just about the Quran. It's not Quran literalism, Quran absolutism. There's a lot more to it than that.
Yeah, but we have to, identify the truths of the revelation and understand that there's no way that one man without
What you
having
said is literally
knowledge.
meaningless.
No, because you guys are not
Yes, it is
understanding that
meaningless.
it's not meaningless, right?
It is.
When you take
if you stick to the
someone who
Quran,
is-
it is even worse.
Mm-mm.
If
When
you stick to the Quran, the embryology verses are still wrong. They do not
They're-
get any better.
They're not wrong. I think
They
you
are.
just have a misunderstanding and a misperception as to how it's
Oh,
wrong.
really? The guy who
and
speaks
that's
the
why we
language
don't know,
misunderstands the text.
and that's why we don't know everything, right? Because science tells us the how, not the why, and so there are things that we still have yet to figure out, right? And there's still prophecy being revealed
not
from
this,
the
though.
Quran today. Do you know that there's still
Not this.
prophecy being revealed from the Quran today?
Like,
It's the only
you say
book
that
that's
there-
still revealing prophecy.
could you stick to the topic that we're discussing? You're saying that there are things that we do not know. This is not one of them, because again, we can literally see it.
Yeah, and when was this found out? Just what I'm saying. You're taking things. You're missing the point.
The
point
way
is
it is
that-
laid out in the Quran, the way it's laid out in the Quran is completely, plagiarized from Galen.
All I'm saying is that remember in the beginning when I said that only an inventor could tell us about these things. There's no way that someone could have told the Prophet Muhammad these things, peace be upon him, that he would have revealed it in such an eloquent way.
What eloquent way?
That Arabic
How
is
do you
of the
know it
most
is eloquent?
Absolutely,
Yeah, how do you know
because
that?
there were
Rome,
other
do you
poets.
read? Rome, do you read?
Let me show you why I know
Arabic?
it's. Let me tell you why I know it's Arabic. Why I know it's eloquent, right?
Yeah.
Because the Quran challenge still stands today. It has not been debunked. There's no one that's
give me-
able to provide a verse. There's no one that's able to provide a verse or a chapter like it. Okay.
Again, do you have the
No
criteria
one-
for that? Do you have the criteria for that?
You have the Quran. There's no one that's able
No,
to provide.
it doesn't give you. It's a free
There's no-
challenge if it doesn't tell you. If it doesn't
Look,
tell you how to fulfill the
and-
challenge, it's not a true
but,
challenge.
but mankind and science have reverse engineered everything else, but they can't reverse engineer some words. Wow.
There is no need to
what an
reverse engineer
amazing
it.
thing. Yeah,
It's a stupid
that's
book.
no,
It's
it's
a
not a
stupid
stupid book. So,
It is.
so produce a chapter like it.
Again, I've already used.
Produce
for example,
a chapter like
I've
it.
given,
You
I've
can,
given a
right?
lot of your Muslims, Habi. I've given a lot of your Muslims
Bro, you
mid-debate.
just said
could you
something
let me
that's
finish?
stupid. Go
Could
ahead.
you let me finish? Again, mid-debate, I've made up fake verses to Muslims, and they've tried to defend it to me.
Yeah, you still misunderstand what I'm asking you.
Again, why if it's so eloquent that you cannot reproduce it, why do Muslims all of the time believe in the fake verses that I give them?
Yeah, you haven't allowed me. You haven't done that. So there's nothing
I
that
have.
you can. No, you
So
know.
sure.
No,
I
no, no.
have.
You have not. You have
Oh,
not.
really? So you're coping now?
I'm not coping. I just said you cannot produce a chapter like it because if you
And
could, it would have
you
been
could not
done.
make
There's
that
no
claim.
one.
Again, you cannot make
Bro,
that
for
claim. because, again,
1400 years, there have been 300 different denominations and different books of the Bible. No one has been able to reproduce a chapter like the Quran in its eloquence. No one.
How would you know?
Bro, it has not been done. Like,
how
are
do
you
you know?
serious?
I have a.
Like, it has not been done, dude. It just has not been done. It has not been done. The
It has been
challenge
done.
still stands
It
today.
has
No,
been
it
done.
hasn't. No, it
Yes,
has
it has
not.
been done.
There's
If you're
no.
saying no, I'm just
bro,
going to say yes.
Bro,
By
show
the way,
me
I have
where
a quick
someone has
question.
produced a chapter like the Quran in its eloquence. Go ahead.
I just have a quick question. So would you say that this looks like you know, a human fetus being covered in flesh, having the bone covered in flesh? Would you say that that's the case?
It doesn't say the bone covers the flesh. That's not what it says. It doesn't say bones cover the flesh.
No, sorry. The flesh covers the bones. Would you say that, you know, this is a description of a human fetus developing?
Taking pictures in stages. Remember that life is something that's continuous. Even as we age, it's growing. So you'd have to be able to record the entire process.
And we
No,
have.
you're not. No,
Yeah,
no, no.
so just to be clear, this is a dolphin fetus. You know that, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to show you, that you cannot look at the entire process of something. That's why I didn't even agree with you, because you're looking at stages of something.
You did agree with
and
me.
you have to. No,
This
I
is a
didn't.
dolphin.
No, it's a fetus nonetheless. You said if it's a fetus.
I asked if it
You
was
said
a
if it was
human
a human-
fetus.
No. Maybe I misheard that, but no,
Okay.
I didn't agree because it didn't look like that, to be honest. But nonetheless, we have to be able to see the entire process of something, and taking pictures.
Look, the
even in
reason why I did
stages.
that is because it's not clear that you can even identify what a human fetus looks like, let alone actually identify various processes and stages in human fetal development.
That's not accurate.
You couldn't clock it as a dolphin fetus.
I mean, I don't have to necessarily know it's a dolphin fetus and know it's not a human fetus. I could have instantly told that it was not a human fetus based on the pictures that we
Oh,
just
could
looked
you?
at.
What if I told you it was a human fetus?
I would not believe you because it doesn't look like a human fetus. We just looked at one. It's completely different.
Oh, really? How is it different? Go ahead.
How is it different?
Uh,
Bro, if you can see with your eyes, you can see that it's different.
like, could you give me a description?
Without me being able to give a description, I can tell when there are differences. I don't necessarily have to give a description of the differences because that's not something that I am versed on to be able to tell two things are different. To put it simple, it's just like looking at the sun and the moon and knowing that they're different, even though they're both shining
I can
light.
describe to you that they're
Or-
different.
Yeah, but the difference, I don't have a description for. It doesn't mean I can't tell the difference, right? If you look in,
That is
if you look
literally
at
what it
two,
means.
but what I'm
Because
saying
if you're
is,
unable to tell
what?
it,
No,
that
no,
means you're
no,
unable to describe
no.
it.
Because if you're looking at them both on a table, and you're clearly looking at them, and you're like, yeah, you know what? This one actually doesn't look like this one. Does it mean that you have to give a description to be able to tell the difference? No, you can clearly see with your eyes they're not the same. Even the stages in which they would come to completeness, they're just not the same as they would go down those stages. One would be a dolphin and one would be a human. It just, you know what I mean? It doesn't add up.
You're muted, Blitz.
Oh, sorry. Here's the dolphin fetus again. Tell me what's different about this and a human fetus.
But nonetheless.
Wait, hold on, Rome. This is the dolphin fetus again. Tell me what's the difference between this and a human fetus.
Hold on, because we kind of went off track for a second.
I just gotta know.
No. What I'm trying to get back to is the probabilities of the claims that you're trying to make. You're saying that this man could have spoken to people, he could have been learned these things, and what have you. But the truth is, there is no way he would have the probability of even guessing one correctly. And that
he didn't guess
there are.
any. Not a single one is
Okay, so
correct.
hold on. Before
Bro,
we
they
continue, I just
are
want to check
correct.
that
We
you don't
just
know the
went over
difference
a lot.
between this and the human fetus.
We went over the Big Bang description.
Okay, we're
expanding
pivoting.
the
That's
universe.
fine. We can pivot.
Look, I don't study embryology.
It doesn't
bro.
describe.
I
It
stay.
doesn't
I
describe
don't.
anything.
I don't study embryology. I don't have
Clearly.
to know
I can tell.
certain things, right, to be able to prove certain things. It's just you can see with your eyes. If you were to
Yeah, but-
examine two things that are different, you'd be able to tell if you're examining
sure.
two things that are different.
Let me
Like if you have an apple on one side and
let
an
me-
orange, and even if it's mushed up, you can say, you know what, one has a different smell, one is,
exactly,
it's a
you're
different
describing
color.
it there. You're
That's what I'm
describing
saying.
it.
But that's what I'm saying, dude.
That is the
I'm
point.
not. I don't have both in front of
All
me.
right,
to
hold
give
on.
you
I
that
got you.
separate
So
description.
here's a human fetus, Carnegie collection, and here's the dolphin fetus. So what's the difference?
Between this and picture 15 or 14.
Yeah, what's the difference here? And M's don't help him.
They clearly have.
What's the
But
difference?
hold on, because we didn't address before we get to that. We didn't
No,
address
please,
what I was
just
getting to.
we'll just answer it. It'll be fine, and then we can go on. Okay, we can just move on after that. What's the difference?
Can you tell the difference?
Look, I'm asking you, bud. Can you tell the difference between the human fetus and the dolphin fetus?
I'm sure if I had both, I would be able to tell the difference.
I'm showing you right now.
Not
Here's
from,
both.
Yeah, not
It is on
from
the screen.
not from looking at pictures. If I had both, I'd be able to give you. But that doesn't prove anything. You showing me pictures of fetuses doesn't prove anything of differences or similarities or anything like that, based on what I'm trying to bring to your enlightenment.
Okay,
right?
so you can't tell me the difference
showing
between a human and a dolphin fetus?
I'm sure if I took the time, I could. I'm not trying to take the time to do that right now, am I? I was
Okay.
trying to stick to something that we were on and we jumped over, right? And like
we
I'm
didn't
proving
jump
to you.
over. I
Yeah,
explained it to you.
No,
I
you're
explained to
saying
you
that.
the entire stage is
All right.
mentioned in the Quran. Every
So what
single
about
stage is
the?
wrong.
All right, there.
And
You're
it doesn't
saying
mention
that
the Big Bang.
you're saying that all the proofs that the Quran gives are wrong.
There
So you're
is
saying
not a
that
single
the
one.
big. You're
There is
saying
not a
that
single-
you're
single
saying that the expansion of the universe is wrong.
It doesn't mention the
moon
expansion of the
reflected
universe. It doesn't say that the moon reflects light.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't. The
Yes,
problem
it
is that you do not speak the language.
Bro,
Where
it
you're
says
reading.
it
Jamil,
says
show
the
me,
moon.
give me the verse. Sure. Give me the verse for the reflection of the light.
2561.
Could you bring it up?
2561.
Yep, I got you.
Because this is going to be funny. Because it calls the moon a light. It says we have made the moon a light.
2561.
It doesn't say we have made it a reflected light.
It says
is
we
a
made it
mistranslation
luminous.
by
What
the-
does luminous mean? Do you know what luminous means?
Could you show me the screen? And I'm not
Yep.
looking at the Arabic. I'm not looking
Sorry,
at the English. I'm looking at the Arabic.
Sorry about that. I'm working on it. It's just stop. All right, one sec. Let me use a different website because this website is terrible for zooming in.
Yeah, I'll read it though. 61. It says, "Blessed is the one who has placed constellations in the sky, as well as a radiant
Here we go.
lamp and a luminous moon."
والقمر منيرا. So again, where does it
I'm
say
sure you're
reflected?
gonna. It says luminous. Do you know what
No,
luminous
no,
is?
I'm asking you in the Arabic, where does it say reflected? Go ahead.
Bro, reflected doesn't have to. It says
Wait,
luminous.
by the way,
are you
you know,
not?
light-
Are you not understanding?
Are you
Wait,
stupid?
it doesn't even say reflected. It just says luminous. So even if it
Yeah,
just
so
sa-
what-
even if it does say luminous, which who knows if it does, you know that
It
light
does
bulbs
say
are luminous, right?
It says,
You know that light bulbs are luminous.
Yeah, but it clearly says a
So
radiant lamp and a
munir.
luminous moon, meaning
Munir
that
is something
it's
that causes
reflected.
things. Again, munir is something that causes things to be lit up. So the moon is lighting up the stuff. That is what the word means. And in another verse it says, وَهُوَ الَّذِي جَعَلَ الْقَمَرَ نُورًا. He is who made the moon a light. But the translation says, he is who made the moon a reflected light, which is not what it says.
Ooh, that's
Yeah,
not good.
It does say that.
So
You know what we can do? And lovely, fortunately, this website, it translates each individual word. So we can say, and has placed therein a lamp and a moon shining. Where is the word
Yeah.
reflected? Which Arabic word means reflected or reflecting?
Yeah, what translation are you using?
I'm just using
Because-
whatever this website is, myislam.org.
When something
But look, there's two
is-
words, right? So
Yeah,
what?
you know-
Ems, what is this word? How do you say this word?
وَقَمَرًا.
And what does it mean?
A moon.
And what about this word?
منيرا.
And what does that mean?
Providing light.
Okay, and so if I were to go
so
Google
does
that
a moon
to
not provide light?
translate it, say,
Are you stupid? Oh.
No, dude. I think you guys are
Your
just.
point
If we
is
just-
that
if
it
we
says
just-
it's reflected.
you know-
do this.
I see what I see what's the problem here. You guys are just so far in disbelief that you're choosing to ignore the facts that there's no way a 7th century uneducated man, even if being told all the stories, wouldn't have been able to reveal these things
He
to us.
doesn't.
That
He doesn't
even the
reveal a
20s
single correct thing.
Yes,
He doesn't
yes,
reveal a
does.
single correct thing.
Yes, he does.
Give me
He does.
a single thing. Go ahead.
Bro, I just went over a lot of them.
No, you haven't.
Yes,
the
I
analogy is
have.
completely
The
wrong.
moon
Again,
and
it moon does. It doesn't say it's reflected.
the
If
moon
you're
and
getting
the
gaslit
sun.
us,
It
if
says
you're-
it's
The moon
shining.
and the sun. It also goes about the oceanic barriers, right? In 55:19 through 20. So you're saying that this man was out
sure.
in the ocean as well.
Which oceans? Which oceans? Go ahead.
Dude, it doesn't matter.
No, it
has
does
been
matter because
proven.
according
Doesn't
to
matter
the
what
scholar, Habibi,
oceans.
according to the
It's been
scholars, this is
proven
talking
that-
about the ocean of the sky and the ocean of the earth.
No, it's not talking about oceans of the sky and the earth. What are you
So,
talking about,
so the prophet is stupid.
bro? What are
So
you
the prophet
saying?
doesn't know his Quran.
Bro,
So the prophet does not know
using
his Quran.
you're using non-valid. Look, you see when the Quran gives you something true, you go to something that
It
tries to
doesn't. It
prove
doesn't
it
give you
not
something
true.
true. Which
Because that's the
seas is it
first thing
talking
you
about?
do. You go to some invalid sunnah that goes against what the
Sunnah.
Quran is saying. That's what you're doing. So when I
Rome,
give you
Rome,
something
I just have a
accurate
quick
from the
question.
Quran,
Rome, I have a quick
When I-
question. Can you read Arabic?
you don't have to
Obviously
read
not.
Arabic. We have
Well,
the
no, I mean, you,
translation.
you should
do.
read it in the original language, right? If you want to figure out what the thing
Yeah,
means, then
but-
you should read it in the original language. So, for example,
but
with the
we have
moon thing, can we
translation.
go, when we go look at the moon thing, the original language doesn't say reflecting.
Doesn't
right?
have to say reflecting. This is a
It just says
revelation
it's
of, look,
shining or illuminated.
okay, let me show you something, right? The Quran is not necessarily a book to
It's not a book of science. We've heard it all before.
it gives you signs for those who believe in the hereafter, and it's a clear book on
Blitz, can you
salvation,
read 43?
and it's a clear book
43 what?
on the hereafter.
43.
Okay, and that's what I'm trying to bring to you
43.
is that there's no way, and like you agree, that he was revealed the Quran by the angel Gabriel.
Oh, this
And
is
there's
this
no
is
way-
devastating.
There's no way that he would have known this.
Quran. This is 43:3. Certainly, we have made it a Quran in Arabic, so perhaps you will understand. So I guess it's intended to be understood in Arabic. Is that correct?
Let
Only
me
in
go
Arabic.
to. Let me go to.
And only in Arabic. According to the scholars, every Muslim has the duty to learn what he can of Arabic.
I didn't think
So,
I would ever meet a
because,
Protestant Muslim before, but this guy is
when
like a
you-
KJV only Muslim, which is crazy.
No. When you listen to the Arabic, it's a reason why, right? And the Arabic is of the highest eloquence. And so
How
you
do you know
cannot.
that? You cannot say that.
I've listened.
You cannot
I've
say that.
listened to the Quran in
I
Arabic.
mean, you're unable to say
And
that. You're
I've
listening to
listened
something
to the
doesn't tell you if it's
Quran in
eloquent.
Arabic. Yes, it does, because
Listening to something doesn't tell you if it's eloquent.
there has not been a chapter produced like it, nor
There has been
anyone. No,
multiple.
there has not.
Yes, there has
not.
been.
There does not.
Do you know anything about Musaylim al-Kadhab?
Bro, there has not
Do you know
been.
anything about Musaylim
You're
al-Kadhab?
lying, dude. You're lying. There's not been
Sure, can you prove I'm
any
lying?
chapter, because you can't prove it.
I did.
No, you have not. You're
You're
just
just not
lying.
listening.
You're just no.
Musaylim al-Kadhab is a prime example of a person who copied the Quran and people believed him.
Bro, copy something is not to produce something like it. That's
He
different.
produced something
Look,
like it,
Rome,
which is why
No.
people believed he was
I
a
have
No,
prophet
no, no.
from
You
God.
just said he copied it.
Rome, I have a
You just said
question.
he copied it, dude.
I have a question. How did you get into Islam?
What does that have to do with anything?
I'm just curious. I mean, because it's not common for, like, you know, Christians in the United States to become Muslim. So, like, I'm curious, like, what led you down that route?
I mean, I don't feel like the answer matters. I was always Muslim, you know, and so are the
No, you weren't.
you know, God and yes.
When
I
was
was
the
always
first time you read
Muslim.
the Quran?
Let me tell you why I was always Muslim, right? And it's my understanding that even God's creation that doesn't have like a lot of God's creation, right? Like the trees, you don't see it's so beautiful when you think about it, right? The
Wait,
animals.
when was the first time you read the Quran?
No, hold on. Let me explain. You asked me a question. I'm gonna tell you.
If you've read it.
Well, but you're not answering the question.
What's your question?
My question is, how did you become Muslim? And then you said you've always been a Muslim, which is obviously a dodge, obviously a lie. So why don't you tell me when the first time you read the Quran was?
No, you're asking as far as like it depends on how you want me to understand.
Like, you were raised in a Christian household. You've already told me that. So I'm asking, how did you come to Islam?
Yeah, because I realized that from learning about religion, except I learned about religion a little bit in school, and so it kind of dawned to me that even though I was in a Christian household, that they all went to different churches, and that while I believed in God or Creator,
Muslims do the same thing, by the way.
I didn't see how, you know, they were going to like different churches, and then I came across atheists in high school, and I was like, yeah, they're just probably a little too far gone. And so my I was just pretty much spiritual in a sense, just, you know, believing in God and just wanting to do good. And
Hey,
I was
how
a
do you
seeker
feel
of
about Fresh and
knowledge.
Fit?
I started reading a lot of non-fictional books, philosophy, you know, science books, you name it.
How do you feel about Fresh and Fit?
What is that?
Andrew Tate?
Not familiar.
Really?
Yeah, like what do you mean by that?
Press X to doubt.
You're losing me a bit.
Okay. So you ran into some atheists in high school, and then you're just like, well, what about this other thing that
No. So that's the thing.
I had
didn't
never
go
heard of?
searching. I didn't go searching for religion or Islam. Like I told you. Upon graduating high school, my heart was just spiritual. I believed in God wholeheartedly, but I couldn't attribute to who that God was. I didn't know if it was Jesus, Buddha, you know, whatever. I just couldn't tell based on where I was, but I know a God exists, and I wanted to do good. I always did good and did well, treated people well wherever I went. And so I started to read a lot of books, like I told you, philosophy, nonfiction, books on science, you know, you name it. I just started to consume a lot of knowledge. So prior to that, after that, I was handed the Quran. I was actually late to work one day, and I thought I made a wrong turn. I did make a wrong turn, and trying to rush through the light. The light caught me, and someone handed me a book. I could have chosen to take this book or not. Then I found out it was an English translation of the Quran. Upon reading it, it confirmed my faith that anyone who wants to do good or does good and believe in the one God or Creator is a Muslim by definition. And so I'd put the Quran down
Where does it
for a
say
bit.
that?
I'm sorry?
Where does it say that?
It says it in the Quran that I'm reading.
Where? Yes, go ahead.
And so, upon understanding
where
that,
does it say that?
I'm sorry,
Where? What verse?
bro. Even in 1960, it says those who repent and believe are granted paradise. So I'm not sure. You said you read the
I don't know
Quran.
what you said specifically.
Yeah, but the whole theme of it. The whole theme of
What
it
you said
is
specifically.
The whole
Where does it
theme,
exist in the Quran?
yeah, the whole theme of it is just that. It says here, as for
No, the
those who
whole theme of
repent,
it.
believe, and do
Literally,
good,
the second
it is
page.
they
The
who will
second
be
page.
admitted to paradise.
Jamil, where does it say that those, the exact thing you just said, which was, what was the thing you said? What was, do you remember verbatim?
It was a
what he said?
1960.
Not the verse, what he said verbatim.
Hmm.
The thing that he said that everybody who does good in their life is a Muslim.
Yeah, so babies are naturally Muslim because if a baby should
That's
die,
There is
crazy.
sunnah. There is sunnah. There is
Yes,
sunnah. You cannot
babies.
accept that there is
Look,
sunnah.
dogs are
There is sunnah.
Muslim. The trees are Muslim.
Oh, that
That's
is true.
crazy.
don't-
I'm sorry. I'm
let
sorry.
me-
I'm sorry. I'm done with him. That's crazy. Dogs and trees are Muslim?
That is true, though. In the Quran, it says that the
It's
sun and the
crazy,
moon
though.
and the mountains prostrate to God. So they literally like get on their knees and they prostrate to God.
I didn't know mountains had knees. Ems, thank you so much for being
Oh,
here. I appreciate
thank
you.
you.
I'm going to let you down, though. Have a good one. That's crazy. Did I say KJV only Arabic? I meant KJV only Muslim. Because that seems like kind of how he was. That was crazy, though. I guess dogs are Muslim now. I always thought that my cat was Jewish, but I guess not. Cats can't be Jewish, so, you know. Read some super chats, we'll move on to our next guest. From Mindforged Manacle with the $5, talk to Justin's friend M. Well, that's who we brought up. This guy's choosing deceptive translations of the Quran. It doesn't say the universe is expanding. See early commentators. Yeah, that sounds about right. From a Dwayne Warren with the $10, if morality is real and self-sacrifice truly good, can a value-neutral universe explain why moral values bind us, or does that point to God as its deeper ground without reducing morality to illusion? Look, so it might be the case that there isn't a sense in which moral values actually bind us, in which case you would be a moral anti-realist. Merely, we have a drive to do these things, but there's no like external binding that's happening. From Brian Peck with the $5, the actual verse says the heavens and the earth were one, and Allah clove them asunder, consistent with other mythology of the time. Seven heavens and eras, by the way. Yeah, it's fairly similar. From Brian Peck again with the $5, it says we are capable, not the universe is expanding. Moonquote uses the word nur, which means light, not reflected. Bad Zakir Naik, clone is bad. That's where he got it from. From Brian Peck again with the $2, the satanic verses disagree with no one else's claim. Oh, that's interesting. I always forget that the satanic verses exist. Which is like just crazy that those are things that they're like officially called the satanic verses. From I Am the Big Cheese with the $5, do we have to accept that Muhammad wrote the Quran at all? I don't know if scholars would say it was compiled and written like that, like the Gospels. Yeah, I don't know. Like, and it doesn't really matter, right? From Dr. Fudge with the $10, how do you even quantify literary eloquence? What's the point of that argument? I'm an avid reader of older literature back to classical antiquity. The range of eloquence is quite vast and subjective. Yeah, it is subjective. But I mean, like, I guess the point is if it, I guess his point is that if it sounded like, so a native speaker can typically tell if somebody is well-educated or not well-educated based off of the language that they use, at least to some degree, right? If I'm speaking with somebody who, for whom English is their fourth language, I shouldn't say well-educated, I should say fluent in a language. If I'm speaking with somebody for whom English is their fourth language or something and they're just learning it, then they're going to use simple words, and I'll be able to tell that because I'm a native English speaker, right? And I guess the point is that, you know, you would expect an illiterate person to use simple language, but that doesn't follow. From Michael Solis with $5, bro got Charlie Kirked. By that I mean duped with the old dolphin fetus switch. The funny thing is when I was telling him to compare the two, I was showing him two pictures of humans. He didn't know the right way to answer because he didn't know if I was going to do the double switcheroo. From the Rabid Squirrel Sage with the $2, this guy definitely drives a Dodge Mustang. Don't do that to me. You guys are so mean. From Mindforged Manacle, this guy really is a Protestant Muslim. Yeah, I'm going to start using that because it's definitely a thing. Like, there are a lot of like non-Protestant Muslims, right? There are a lot of like just typical Muslims and usually they start out that way. But like when you have somebody who reverts to Islam when they're like 20 or whatever, and they're like born in American evangelical culture, like they just behave like Protestants still. And from Jamnik with the $5, Dr. Blitz, Dr. Blitz, quote, how did you come to Islam? Collar from a spot between my spine and backbone. Exactly. That's where the Islam comes from. From I Am the Big Cheese with the $5, Quote, I read philosophy. I bet it was 12 Laws of Power and The Art of War. Probably, but The Art of War is fun to read anyway. From Dr. Fudge with the $5, the trees are Muslim is now the worst argument I've ever heard in one of these debates. I guess that's in the Quran. From I'm the Big Cheese with the $2, squirrels are Mormon. Indeed they are. And from Mindforged Manacle, look at the trees, they're Muslim. And from a last super chat for the moment anyway, from a Dwayne Warren with the $5, denying moral binding doesn't refute my argument. It concedes the point by abandoning objective morality entirely. Well, look, if you're a moral anti-realist, then yeah, you're going to reject objective morality. That's just the case. All right, y'all, let's bring up our next guest. Let's talk to Hamburgum. Hamburgum, how's it going?
It's going good.
I'm glad to hear it. Hamburgum, do you believe in God?
I do.
And which one would that be, just so I don't make any bad assumptions?
I'm Roman Catholic.
Okay, great. Now look, I'm not. In fact, I'm an atheist. But if what you're saying is true, I'd like to believe it. So what would be like the most compelling argument or evidence that you could offer me that might convince me that it's true?
For me, the base of my belief is that being a Catholic, you believe that Jesus rose from the dead. And I believe there's a lot of compelling evidence towards that, like history-wise and logically, and not just like based off of like a hoax. Like it looks like based on like history, it is very compelling that he did rise from the dead. There's not really, I would like to hear some evidence against that.
Well, I mean, look, like I generally take the position that people don't really rise from the dead. It's not really a thing that happens. So like I'm generally skeptical of any ancient claims of people rising from the dead. And there's a lot of these, right? Like there's a lot of people rising from the dead across history. I think Nero was said to have done it 3 times. But like I don't believe that. So I guess the question is like, what makes the evidence for Jesus's resurrection more compelling than the evidence for anybody else's resurrection?
I would first start with the disciples. All of them during Jesus's crucifixion, a lot of them went to hide to flee, and afterwards, a lot of them actually were crucified. Well, not crucified. They died for Jesus' name. They all very much believe that Jesus rose from the dead. And
wait a minute. How do we know that they died for the belief that Jesus rose from the dead?
A lot of. Hold on, give me a second. Let me look up the.
Sure.
Sorry, I actually didn't know I was gonna get in here.
You're good. You're fine.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
Yeah. Saint Stephen, first considered the first Christian martyr. He was publicly preached that Jesus was the Messiah and stoned to death in Jerusalem. James's son. Yeah.
So we, and I'm just double checking. I'm not. Look, I wasn't raised Christian, so like I don't know a lot. But my understanding is that the only information we have about Stephen at all is from the Acts of the Apostles. Is that true? Or do we have other information about Stephen as well?
In the book of Acts, yeah. But also like a lot
so,
like there's more than one person though, like Saint Peter.
Right, but like we can talk about Stephen. So like
sure.
How do we know that Stephen was executed for the claim that executed because he refused to recant the claim that Jesus rose from the dead?
Well, a lot of these things I'm just basing off of the fact that a lot of history agrees with these things, right? Like a lot of people do like basic things, right? Jesus was a real person. Jesus did die on the cross.
I agree. Those are probably both true. Those are also both not very unusual, right?
Yeah,
like lots of people lived, lots of people were crucified.
Of course. But Jesus disappearing from the temple 3 days later, that was also
disappearing from the temple. You mean the tomb?
The tomb, sorry.
But that's not something that we can confirm. That's the issue.
In what way?
I mean,
okay, so you would say that you don't believe that he was missing from his tomb 3 days later.
I don't even know. I don't know. I don't know if he was, but it doesn't seem like that. It doesn't seem like that we have good reason to that we have super compelling evidence that like he was missing from his tomb. B, We don't have B, even if he was missing from his tomb, it doesn't therefore imply that he resurrected.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Okay. So let me.
Also, I'm pretty sure that it wasn't standard Roman practice to put people in a tomb after they were crucified.
It wasn't, but okay.
So
well,
then why was he in a tomb?
let me look that. He was in after he was crucified. They took him down, right? And let me formulate. I actually did not know I was getting on the show. Wait, hold on.
You're fine.
Yeah. So
apparently, typically Romans left crucified bodies on the cross to decompose as a public deterrent. So like, how do we even know that Jesus was ever put in a tomb?
Through a Romish-Jewish burial process, not secretly or symbolically. He says that he was crucified by Roman execution. A respected Jewish leader requested the body. A member of the Jewish ruling council, publicly identifiable, wealthy, and he asked for the Roman governor for Jesus's body. And Roman approval was required, right?
And what documentation do we have that this happened?
This is all from most of the Gospels of the Bible. Most of this comes from the Bible.
So the trouble is that I have a hard time believing a lot of the claims that are in the Gospel. Right?
Sure. Well,
like the Gospel also, like, depending on which books you're reading, like I think is it Matthew? That mentions 500, or not 500. Is it Matthew that mentions the the ancestors rising from the dead from their tombs in Jerusalem and just wander around the city?
Say it again, you cut out. My phone cut out.
So it's in Matthew 27. There's a description of the bodies of the saints rising from tombs after Jesus died and entering Jerusalem and appearing to many people. So like we have a bunch of dead people just coming back to life, wandering around Jerusalem and talking to people or interacting with people. And we're supposed to believe that this book contains true things?
I would say so, yeah, because there is, like, it's not just like, okay, like, not to hate, but like taking like a lot of other religions, for example, it is like one person, one claim, and it's like it's reflected inwards, right? Like there's not like a lot more like books and like references and whatnot, but like for Jesus's life, he was like, it was a very like documented occurrence.
No, but like the Matthew 27 claim is this is the only time it's even mentioned, right? It's the only time it's recorded, if this ever even happened.
Only time what's recorded?
That the bodies of the dead rose from the various dead people rose from the dead after Jesus died, and then wandered around Jerusalem and interacted with people. That like we literally have like zombies walking around Jerusalem after Jesus died. And this is in the same book that says that Jesus rose from the dead. Why should I believe this?
Well, I mean, like, I excluding that, okay, yeah, sure. Like, don't.
No, but the thing is, look. If I were writing a history textbook, and I were trying to tell you that this is a history textbook, and then I also include in 1961, 100 aliens descended upon, let's not say 1961, let's say, and then in 2014, 100 alien spacecraft descended on Washington, D.C. and took photos and selfies with various bystanders. If I included that in my history textbook, you would have good reason to discount the entire textbook, right?
Yeah. So this is what I was going to get to, actually. So I was losing myself here. Outside of the Bible, right? Like Jesus's life was like a lot of it was documented inside the Bible, and then it does say in the Bible that he did resurrect, that his thing. Outside of that, a lot of people died for his name and claim that he was seen alive and
well,
died
hold on. We
this.
don't have any evidence that anybody died for the claim that he was resurrected. We have no evidence of any of that.
And
we have no extra biblical sources of any of this.
I disagree with that.
Can you find me one?
In Tacticus.
Tacitus?
Yeah, Tacitus. Whoops.
Okay, which part of Tacitus?
Annals 15.44.
All right, let's pull it up. Book 15. the Annals of Tacitus, book 15, verse, or no, it's not verse 44, it's paragraph 44. So I'll just put this up so everybody can see it. Make it a little bit smaller so that we can see the whole thing. 44. Oh, this is quite long. So far, the precautions taken were suggested by human prudence. Is this the part that you're referring to? Okay, so
Yeah.
I'll skip down to the Christian bit. But neither human help nor imperial munificence nor all the modes of placating heaven could stifle scandal or dispel the belief that the fire had taken place by order. Therefore, to scotch the rumor, Nero substituted as culprits and punished with utmost refinements of cruelty a class of men loathed for their vices, whom the crowd styled Christians. Christus, the founder of the name, had undergone the death penalty in the reign of Tiberius by sentence of the procurator Pontius Pilatus, and the pernicious superstition was checked for a moment, only to break out once more, not merely in Judea, the home of the disease, but in the capital itself, where all things horrible or shameful in the world collect and find vogue. First, then, the confessed members of the sect were arrested. Next, on their disclosures, vast numbers were convicted, not so much on the count of arson as for the hatred of the human race. And the derision accompanied their end. They were covered with wild beast skins, blah, 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 blah. Then they're tortured and blah, 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 blah. So it doesn't actually say that they were convicted and executed because they refused to discount the resurrection. Apparently, they were convicted for the hatred of the human race.
Okay. Let me.
So, like,
take a
what's the
different
extra
stance on
biblical
this.
source that we have Christians who would have been alive and witnessed to Jesus's resurrection if it happened, that they were executed because they refused to recount?
Well, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I wasn't prepared to give you sources, but looking it up here,
What you'll find is there are none.
I'm looking here, and there's I'm seeing a lot. I'm trying to verify on the spot. It's a bit difficult. Let me go here. Lucian of Samosata.
I have no idea. So, by the way, how do you spell that?
Lucian.
He was a satirist, apparently.
Yeah.
Okay, so what should I look up? By the way, he lived like 100 years after Jesus died.
Yeah, well, that doesn't.
So is he going to have an account of somebody who was alive when Jesus was alive, and who or who would have seen the resurrected Jesus, and he could attest to their conviction? Because it seems like at best this would be like a third person account, because you would have the person who says. You would have, or I guess it'd be a second person account. You would have the account of some court or some historian who says that XYZ person was executed for resurrection or for claiming the resurrection. And then you would have Lucian quoting that person.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. No. Let me.
So I'll save you the ChatGPTing. There are none. I've looked.
Yeah.
There are none. There are no extra biblical accounts of Christians being executed because they refuse to give up their belief that, or they refuse to give up their belief that Jesus resurrected. I should clarify. There are no accounts of apostles or anybody who was alive at the time being executed for that purpose. Plenty of people have given their lives for their beliefs afterwards, but these wouldn't have been people who would have witnessed it personally.
Okay. Let me track back here and stop trying to get down into the niche. So you don't believe? Okay, so you do believe that Jesus was a real man and that he was crucified?
Yeah, those are both plausible.
Those are both real. Do you? So we don't. So where do we stop? That you don't believe that he was?
I don't think that miracles happened. I think that he was a guy who was. I think he was a guy who was, an itinerant preacher. And he was regularly engaged in things that went against the status quo. He was probably viewed as a threat by the local government and by proxy by the Roman government. And as a result of the chaos that he was sowing, whether or not he actually was or not, that's a different story. As a result of the unrest and the chaos that he was causing, he was crucified for it.
Yeah.
That seems super plausible to me, and it doesn't require any miracles.
Yeah. So that doesn't require, but afterwards, it's based off of him resurrecting from the dead, right? That he's the Son of God. That's what being a Catholic is.
I believe that there is like strong like Bible within the Bible and without the Bible. There's like who else in history has so much documentation for that they did rise from the dead. Like there is a lot of like who like
Nero?
I don't know. It's unfair for me to say this to you, but like who else?
Nero?
Like, but how much? Okay, let me look this guy up.
There was like a war fought over Nero's resurrection. Like thousands of people were like went to their death because of it, and this is recorded. They're called pseudo Neros, and there have been a few of them.
Yeah, he wasn't really dead. I've just never heard of this guy. I'm looking him up. Right
He was a Roman emperor.
Yeah.
In fact, Tacitus writes about him, about the pseudo Nero.
Well, in the claim, like there's no empty tomb. There's like no eyewitness claim. There's no appearances.
Right. So we're talking about extra biblical sources, right?
Yeah, for this.
So extra biblical sources.
Nero.
Tacitus wrote about the first pseudo Nero. Same guy that you cite as writing about Jesus. We have Tacitus writing about pseudo Nero.
And what does he say though? He doesn't say. He just says that
He says that he was probably a slave or a freedman from Italy. He doesn't think that he was actually Nero. And to be clear, I don't think that Tacitus thought that Jesus was actually the Messiah either. He was just recording what people thought.
Well, like I mean, like taking Nero as an example, like I feel like it's like not like a very like equal argument. Like he committed suicide. His body was recovered. His tomb was known and occupied. There was no witnesses. There was 0 appearances. There was no.
Well, hold on, no, but there were appearances. That's what these imposters were. There were 3 pseudo Neros, right?
Yes,
and one of them led to a war because he gained a bunch of followers, and then they marched across the Euphrates to Parthia.
But, okay, yeah, but there wasn't. But we do know that there was 3 fake people, like people that looked like him. We do know this now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because we understand that he didn't rise from the dead, because that's made up.
Yeah. So, but then you can't say that about Jesus, that there may have been like.
Well, you can. It's just there's 2 billion people who believe the made up thing.
Excluding the 2 billion people, how would we know that there was just where could it have been that him missing from his tomb and that people died claiming that Jesus resurrected from the dead? Like where does it say that there was just a guy that looked like him and he was like claiming to be Jesus, and that's why all this happened? There's no claim that people who believe that Jesus rose from the dead, there was no doppelganger like as Nero's.
Well, there are plenty of people who make that claim.
Like make what claim?
The Jesus imposter explanation. That's like a thing that people talk about.
Like, but what evidence is there against that? I would say not nearly as much.
What evidence? Wait, is your question that like what evidence? What are you asking for?
No, I'm asking. Okay, so we have evidence that Nero's resurrection was fake because there was these doppelgangers and that these things were documented. Correct?
Well, no. The point is that they claimed that they were the legitimate resurrected Nero. It's just, and they got a lot of people to believe them, but not everybody believed them. And the people like Tacitus, for example, was like, oh yeah, he was an imposter.
I see. So these three doppelgangers, they all actually claim to be Nero as well.
Yeah.
Okay, I missed that.
Yeah. They weren't just like guys who looked like him. They like claimed it, and they like a war was, or like it wasn't really a war. It was more of a slaughter. But like this is a serious thing.
Yeah, but we know today, right, that these people were not Nero. Like we know that there was we know Nero died and where he was placed, right? And
so I mean, you're right. We know that Nero because we actually know where Nero's tomb is, like we know that like Nero definitely did not rise from the dead.
Died, right?
But
Yeah,
like but now you're saying, well, because we don't know where Jesus died, we don't know where Jesus's tomb is. How can we know that Jesus didn't actually rise from the dead? It's just not a very compelling story.
Well, we do know where.
Where? Because apparently it's contentious.
Well, we know that Jesus's tomb is within the Church of the Holy Jerusalem.
Well, that's definitely not agreed upon by everybody, by the way. That's like church tradition, but that's not like a confirmed thing.
But how?
And in fact, other Christians think it was somewhere else.
It's not confirmed because Jesus wasn't found in there, obviously. Like
it's not confirmed because like there are other Christian traditions that place the body or place Jesus's tomb as being somewhere else. Like there's something called the Garden Tomb, which is another stone-hewn or rock-hewn tomb, which some people think that was where Jesus. Like the point is we don't really have any reason to think one way or the other that like the church the tomb below the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is the tomb, or the tomb in like the Garden Tomb is the tomb. Like we don't really have any. As far as I'm aware, we don't have any like compelling evidence that tells us one way or the other.
Well, a lot of Christians do though agree, including the Catholic Church, which I would say is the most, it's the Catholic tradition, the Pope and whatnot says started from Jesus, right? You would say this too.
Jesus wasn't the first Pope.
No, not that. Not Jesus was the first Pope, but the church was started from Jesus.
Well, it was started by his followers. But I mean that's a semantic point. Like it doesn't matter what.
Jesus, though,
sure.
Jesus told them to do that. Our church, the Catholic Church, does believe that he was in this tomb, and right.
But the earliest claims that tomb was Jesus's tomb are like 300 years after Jesus died.
Well, where else would it be? Where else would you?
Who knows?
Yeah.
But making a claim 300 years after it happens is a little bit sketch.
It is sketch, but okay, fine. Excluding that, we don't know the location of Jesus's death, even though it is documented in the Bible that he was missing from his tomb 3 days later. We're back at the same point. There is documents that in the Bible and outside that people did die martyrs for his name. They believe that.
Look, so lots of people die for beliefs that they have.
Of course.
Especially if they're beliefs that they were raised in. Like there was a big thing. I mean, you could just take Islamic extremists, right? That's surely a thing that is definitely an example of people dying for things that they believe in. But that doesn't make it true. Okay. The point is we don't have any documentation of the Christian apostle or the early apostles, the people who would have seen Jesus rise from the dead. We don't have any documentation that any of them died for what they believed in. We've been over that. We don't have any evidence that any of these apostles who would have seen the resurrected Jesus, we don't have any evidence that any of them died for what they've seen, and we've been over this already. There are no extra biblical sources for this.
Well, I mean, I keep looking it up. I'm not obviously I'm no historian, but
you keep looking it up and you keep not finding anything.
Well, it says I'm looking up. Obviously, I can't verify this. I'm hoping you can with me. Saint Stephen,
Saint Stephen. The only accounts of Saint Stephen that we have is from the Acts of Apostles. We don't have any extra biblical sources about him.
Okay, fine. James's brother of Jesus.
James's brother Jesus. We have evidence that he was executed, but not why.
Okay, Saint Paul.
Again, we don't have any evidence about why he was executed. I think it was Paul that we have evidence that he was executed.
Okay, wait. And Saint Peter too.
I don't think that we have extra biblical evidence for Peter.
It says that in. Hold on.
So we do have we have Eusebius, claims that, which is, 300 or 250 years after the fact, we have Eusebius claims that Paul would have been beheaded, which is, a thing, but we don't know why.
Okay, let me.
Peter's
let's go back to
execution. We have Clement saying that Peter and Paul both died, and Eusebius records Peter's death as well. But we don't have any explanation about why. We don't have any description about why Peter and Paul were executed.
Well, what I'm looking at here, it says Paul broke Roman law by saying Jesus is Lord, and this.
Okay, so what's the source for that claim?
This is on. Let me give you the website. Plenty the Younger.
Pliny the Younger?
Yeah.
And this is for who? This is for Peter or Paul?
This is for Paul.
Okay, let's pull it up.
Christians saying Jesus is Lord was seen as rebellion, and Christians were executed.
Hold on. So we're looking at which particular bit? Is it the letter to Trajan or Trajan? I don't know how to pronounce that.
Yeah, me neither. That's what I'm.
The Epistulae. It might be that.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, probably check that. It'll be.
I'm looking for. Just looking for quotes. So then we can actually look. So.
Let us. Here, I found it.
What's it called?
Younger Letters, Book 10, Letter 96.
Book 10, Letter 96. Okay. Okay, let's pull it up. Okay, so this is Book 10 to the Emperor Trajan. Trajan? So it is a rule, sir, which I invariably observe. Let's read this together. And I just pulled up a random website. Hopefully this random website is, correct, but
yeah,
we'll just believe it for now. Sorry, just want to make it bigger. It is a rule, sir, which I inviolably observe to refer blah, 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 blah. Having never been present in any of the trials of the Christians, I am unacquainted with the method and limits to be observed, either in examining or punishing them, whether any difference is to be made on account of age or of no distinction allowed between the youngest and the adult, whether repentance admits to a pardon, or if a man has been once a Christian, it avails him nothing to recant, whether the mere profession of Christianity, albeit without crimes, or only the crimes associated therewith, are punishable. All these points I am greatly doubtful. In the meanwhile, the method I have observed towards those who have been denounced to me as Christians is this. I interrogated them whether they were Christians, and if they confessed it, I repeated the question twice again, adding the threat of capital punishment. If they still persevered, I ordered them to be executed. For whatever the nature of their creed might be, I could at least feel no doubt the contumacy, I don't know that word, and inflexible obstinacy deserved chastisement. There were others also possessed with the same infatuation, but being citizens of Rome, I directed them to be carried thither. Now, do you know if this is going to mention anything about like a specific person?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, because it's absolutely plausible that people who were Christians did refuse to denounce their Christianity. But that says nothing about the apostles who would have witnessed Jesus' resurrection refusing to recant the resurrection. That's the claim. Look, plenty of people die for their beliefs. That's not remarkable. What would be remarkable is that the people who would have seen the resurrection died for the belief that the resurrection happened.
Yeah, let me find something else here too, because I'm positive that I've seen this somewhere, that one of the apostles have died for. I'm
gonna give you one more chance, and then I am gonna have to let you go, because at this point we've done like four examples of this not being the case.
Yeah.
We did Pliny, we did Tacitus, we did Tacitus again, we did the other guy, what was his name? Well, we talked about Eusebius.
Yeah. Yeah, James's brother of Jesus was probably.
Yeah. Okay. So James. So what is the source for James's execution? Where can we find that?
and Josephus.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that sounds right. So we have martyrdom of Apostle James. Right. This is in the Antiquities of the Jews. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Let me just double check something really quick, because there's a particular verse that the Antiquities of the Jews is typically understood to be. It's called
James, brother of Jesus, who is called Christ, and some others.
One sec.
He delivered them to be stoned.
There's a particular thing. It's the Josephus Testimonium, which the Testimonium Flavanium, that's what it's called. And there's some contention about the legitimacy. I just want to double check that the part that we're looking at, Book 20, Chapter 9, most scholar. Okay, so Book 20, Chapter 9, that's the part we're reading, and that's regarded as authentic, so we can read this. So let's read it. And now, Caesar, upon hearing the death of Festus, sent Albinus into Judea as procurator, but the king deprived Joseph of the high priesthood, blah, 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 blah. This is not really relevant. I'm just looking for the relevant part. So he assembled the Sanhedrim of judges and brought before them the brother of Jesus, who is called Christ, whose name was James, and some others, or some of his companions. And when he had formed an accusation against them as breakers of the law, he delivered them to be stoned. But as for those who seemed the most equitable of the citizens, and such as were the most uneasy at the breach of the laws, they disliked what was done. They also sent to the king Agrippa, desiring him to send Ananus that he should act blah 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 blah. So the point is that it actually tells us why James was executed, why he was stoned, and it was for breaking the law. It doesn't say because he refused to recant the resurrection.
It says James, the brother of Jesus, who was called Christ, he delivered them to be stoned.
Yeah, and when he had formed an accusation against them as breakers of the law, he delivered them to be stoned. So the accusation was for breaking the law, not for believing that Jesus rose from the dead. It doesn't even say what law was broken. So how could we know how can we know that they had the opportunity to recant that Jesus rose from the dead and that would have saved them? How can we know that they were executed for their belief that he rose from the dead?
Say that last part again. I cut out again.
How can we know that James was executed because he believed that Jesus rose from the dead? Because it doesn't say it here. Don't type it into ChatGPT again.
No, I'm reading the... What website are you on? I think I'm on a different website.
julianspriggs.co.uk. It's just a text of Josephus, Antiquities of the Jews.
Well, there was no separate belief that like he could have died for. Like, what else?
No, he was accused of breaking the law. It doesn't say anything about a belief. It's about breaking the law.
But what other law could he have broken than being
fomenting rebellion, disturbing the peace, worshiping somebody besides the emperor?
Which would be Jesus.
Yeah, and if that's a crime, then it's a crime, and it doesn't matter if he changed his mind. He would still be guilty of the crime.
Yeah, he'd still be guilty of the crime of he'd be dying for Jesus' name. But
the point is that he couldn't have recanted and gotten out of it. So even if he was, suppose that he was saying, yeah, my brother, he was God, and then they charged it, they're like, you better stop saying that or we're gonna execute you. He didn't get that opportunity. At least that's not clear that he did. It doesn't say that he did. It wasn't like he had the opportunity to tell the truth and then he would be let go.
There was no other like belief that he could have been.
This doesn't say anything about belief. He wasn't executed for a belief. He was executing for breaking a law. Now what that law is, we don't know. I can hear you typing, right?
Yeah, I know. Well, because I'm trying to I'm definitely not no historian, like I'll tell you that much. And when I'm looking, and I do believe in the Bible, right? Like you can say that I do believe that the Bible has documented Jesus' words. I do believe that Jesus lived and did commit miracles. Like he had
Yeah,
miracles.
but the Bible also says that there were people who rose from the dead and wandered around Jerusalem. Like, why should I believe either of those things?
But like in the Bible though, you don't have to take everything like so literally.
Then
like,
why
when you
would I
say
take
that,
the
like,
resurrection literally? What if it was a spiritual resurrection?
that's for you to decide. That's the faith of it. We believe that he did die on the cross.
But
and rise from the dead.
why would you believe that if the same book that says that also says that a bunch of dead people wandered around Jerusalem?
Again, like there is, like you just have to interpret it as it might be. Why?
So
like if it
you
were
have
the
to
truth,
you have to like ignore
if
the parts
Bible
that
were
seem
the truth-
ridiculous but believe the parts that don't?
No, like you take every part in every consideration.
Okay,
And
so the
taking-
zombies
taking
wandering around
Jesus's
Jerusalem.
Yeah, no.
What do
can
you
take that
what do you
and
do with that?
You read. I don't know where that verse. Well,
It's
you
in
said
Matthew 27.
Yeah, Matthew 27. I would read around Matthew 27, and I would see why that was written.
It
But,
just
like,
describes
Jesus'
this as something that happened.
Well, I have to look. I couldn't confirm that. But like Jesus' resurrection.
show
like,
you.
Yeah, sure.
Hold on.
I'm saying it's like it was a,
Matthew
it was a
27
literal-
verse
all these
50
are, like,
something or
literal
other.
claims, like he could have.
All right, here. So Jesus is currently on the cross. This is, from Matthew 27 verse 45. From noon until 3 in the land, darkness came all over the land. About 3 in the afternoon, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani. Blah, 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 blah. He immediately, blah. And when Jesus has cried out again in a loud voice, he gave up his spirit. And that's when he died, right? He gave up his spirit. And then at that moment, the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. The earth shook, the rocks split, and the tombs broke open. The bodies of many holy people who had died were raised to life. They came out of the tombs after Jesus' resurrection and went into the holy city and appeared to many people. It just says that this is a thing that happened. Also that there were earthquakes.
Yeah.
But like, why would anybody that's clearly not true.
Wait, I missed this. Didn't you say that there was many people, dead people walking?
Yeah, the bodies of many holy people who had died were raised to life. They came out of the tombs after Jesus' resurrection and went into the holy city and appeared to many people.
Like again, like you can. There's a lot of ways to take everything. You have to
what
take
is the right way to take this that makes it anything but absurd?
Well, okay, wait. Firstly, what is I know this is bad for me to be saying. What is considered the holy city in this book? Where is that?
Jerusalem.
Like, what is that's where that term is coming from?
Yeah.
And but it could also be like the holy city is like
the holy city is Jerusalem. It's referring to the place where the temple is, and the temple's in Jerusalem.
I'll admit, I'm not gonna be able to dissect this for you and give you the most honest answer without the help of the internet. If I looked it up, maybe there's a better recollection of would you like me to look it up and see?
No, you don't have to. I should actually probably move on. I should move on to another guest. But look, these are things to think about. If you want to believe the Bible, then you have to come up with a way to make sense of these absurdities and then still find a reason to believe the guy who wrote this book. And that seems really, really implausible. I would never listen to a historian who told me that a zombie apocalypse happened 2,000 years ago. Why would I listen to the rest of the stuff in this book?
Sure, you could say that, but there is a lot of things that are said in the Bible that are that seem very literal and they seem super absurd, but then you actually read the context of the book and it's not
well, this is a good example of something that is absurd. But look, Hamburger, I'm going to let you go, but thank you so much for being here. Let's read some super chats and we'll move on to our next guest. From Simeon Urchin with the $5. Oh, glob guys, I just saw the entire forest next to my house kneel down and begin to pray towards Mecca. Maybe he was onto something. Sometimes that just happens. From From a Dwayne Warren with the $5, if you see morality as preference rather than objective, what criteria would make belief in God reasonable to you? Well, morality isn't really related to a belief in God, in my view. Like, I mean, like the belief in God or morality coming from God is also like preference. It's just God's preference. From Jamnik with the $5, I don't know about Jesus rising from the dead, but I know of a pill that has resurrected many. There's a song. I don't know if I can say it. I'll say it. There's a song. It's by a band called Powerwolf, which I would recommend everybody listen to. It's called Resurrection by Erection. Excellent song. Would recommend it. More people should listen to Powerwolf. Anyway, from I'm the Big Cheese, thank you for the $5. Tacitus wasn't even alive when Jesus was crucified, and Tacitus didn't generally think highly of Christians or their beliefs. Very true. It's resurrection by erection, not election. Erection, with an R. From Sickle Steven with the 27 Swedish kroners. Use ChatGPT. I'm good. And from NidY with the $10, for future reference, Matt's apocalypse is Midrash of Zechariah 14. He's desperate to link Jesus to prophecy for messianic legitimacy. It's why it's both nonsensical and ahistorical as well as evidence of fiction. Oh, that's a good point. I will jot that down and add it to my to be sorted. Matt's apocalypse is Midrash of Zechariah 14. Cool. I'll look into that further. From I'm the Big Cheese again with the $5. Romans killed a lot of, if not all, acclaimed Jewish messiahs, at least 4 according to Josephus, as well as just rabbis who Rome didn't like. Yeah, Rome was big on the whole execution thing. From Furtive Patah with the $2, a Christian not knowing Nero is wild. Indeed it is. And from I'm the Big Cheese again, martyrs had faith, not knowledge, and were primed by teachings that it is better to die than to betray their community. Dying for faith is similar to dying in battle. It was a spiritual war, jihad. Yeah, look, that's why people do this today. From Jamnik with the $5, Tacitus's tacit diss equals an insult that is understood or implied without being stated, usually delivered by a Roman historian. Fair point. From Tobias Berger with the 49 Czech crowns, is all of this historical stuff in the debate notes? Some of it is, not all of it. I need to flesh out the historical stuff in the debate notes section, just because it doesn't come up a lot, and I happen to know a lot of it offhand already, so I haven't added it to the debate notes, but I probably should, because I can never keep Peter and Paul straight anyway. Now, that reminds me, I should mention, there are debate notes that I use for a lot of my debates. There's a lot of resources and facts and sources and arguments and counter-arguments and so on for, you know, politics, for religion, for conspiracies like Flat Earth and like Young Earth and stuff like this. And if you want access to those debate notes, it's like $4 or $5 a month. You just become a member on YouTube or on Patreon, and you can get access to the debate notes. And if you don't have them, if you don't want to subscribe on YouTube, there's also Patreon. You can subscribe on Patreon as well. It's like for like $5 a month, and you get access to them. And I do change them on the regular. If you look at the history, like I probably make like half a dozen changes a week, just like of adding new things, adding new arguments, things like that. So consider it. It helps support the channel too. Lamau, his selling an atheist debate course. No, it's not an atheist debate course. These are like my personal notes that I didn't used to make freely available because they were just mine. Because I was using them just to keep track of sources, but people expressed interest in wanting my debate notes. It's not like a course. It's just like a document that has a whole bunch of like lists and topics and stuff like that with sources. So, you know, it's a thing that's worth doing. If you want, of course. Like, just think of it as a way that you can support me rather than, and then you get a perk, right? From Binary Ghost with the $5, quote, many holy people, unquote, specifies a classification that is a subset of all people. Being holy is kind of hard, right? So many holy people can be like 5 people. Yeah, but they appeared to many people in the streets. That's the important part. The important part. So if it was like 5 people, we still would have had many people experiencing those 5 people, and that should have been recorded by more than one guy. From Rizlaki with the €5. Hey, love the content. Any other way than TikTok to join? Got a different approach to this topic. Not at the moment, no. And Toe Phone Man with the $10. Hey, I like this guy. Too many people on here who say that they're atheist, and to prove that there's a god just to insult. This guy actually uses logic and not emotional outbursts. Good luck, my dude. Well, I appreciate that. Look, if it's true, like if it's true, if the whole god thing is true, I want to know. Like that's important knowledge that I would like to know, right? From MILF Wrangler with the $5, just playing with the idea, in what form would God need to be in order to be literally everywhere? Like a particle? It has to be something supernatural. Like, it doesn't make sense otherwise. And from a Dwayne Warren with the $5, can you reread my last question? I was conceding the morality point and asking you for your criteria in believing in God. Oh, yeah, I mean, like, look, if there's good historical evidence that, like, miracles happen, that would be compelling evidence. If somebody can make a compelling, like, deductive like ontological style argument, that would be a pretty good reason. If somebody could make a good design argument, that would be a pretty good reason. Bacon and Bush just sent 5 Dr. Blitz Debunks memberships, which means 5 people just got access to the debate notes and the emojis. So that's cool. That's a cool thing. Thank you, Bacon. All right, let's move on to our next guest. Talk to Mike E. or Mick E. Mickey? Mikey? Mikey. Did I say it right?
Yeah, you could just call me Mike.
All right, Mike. How's it going?
I'm good.
Glad to hear it.
I think I followed just a week ago.
Okay. Well, welcome.
Yep. And right now I had the time to talk. But a little background of you. You say you're a doctor.
I have a PhD in physics. But look, do you believe in a God, Mike?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so I don't. And the topic today is, can you convince me to believe in the God that you believe in? Because, like, if the God that you believe in is true, I really want to know about it. So what you got for me? Do you have evidence, arguments?
Yeah, I would just like for you to, I don't have a PhD, right?
That's fine, you don't need one.
Yeah. So I guess just keep it simple, basic, you know. So for me, it's, I'm a Christian, I would say, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, physically, I can't see him, right?
Right.
Would you say that a thought of him believing and we talking about God, does that not make him exist?
I mean, like, people, I would say no. Like, people debate and talk about, you know, Vegeta and, you know, Naruto, but that doesn't mean that they exist.
All right. I guess that's fair enough, you know. But there is a saying that says, God provides, correct?
That is the thing that people say, yeah.
Yeah. So, I just have a quick question.
Sure.
Do you make money out of this debate? It says, can you convince me?
Yeah, I mean, well, so, like, the debate itself doesn't make money, but people do donate. I definitely do get donations, absolutely.
So would that come to a conclusion that God provides? Meaning, he kind of exists because he provides.
Well, the idea exists. Surely, the idea exists, but, like, it's not God doing the providing. It's like Bacon and Bush who's doing the providing. It's like Dwayne Warren who's doing the providing. It's like Toe Phone Man who's doing the providing, right?
Right, like you said, the idea. So would you say God is an idea, like a thought?
Yeah, it's an idea. Exist? People have ideas about things.
Right, so God provides, meaning, you know.
No, the idea doesn't. The viewers do.
Sorry, somebody's crying right next to me.
Okay.
Easy. All right.
Look, Mike, I'm going to let you go because it doesn't seem like that you really have an argument there. Also, I think that you should probably take care of your animals. I think that may have been a cow. Maybe? All right, let's talk to Abraham Blood. Abraham Blood. How's it going?
What's up? Not much.
Glad to hear it. Abraham Blood, do you believe in a God?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, and which one would that be? Just so I don't make any false assumptions.
Yahweh, yeah.
Sorry, which one?
Yeah. God, like Yahweh. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob.
Okay, sure. So you're Jewish?
No. Christian sides.
Okay, yeah, you could have just told me that. Okay, so look, I don't believe in God.
Right.
Could you offer me, you know, evidence or an argument that might convince me?
We had people who knew God, people like Jesus Christ, right? And we live in a world where we have 2 billion Christians and all that. So you somehow you think that we're all delusional. That he's
Well,
not.
I think that you're wrong. I
something.
think that people can be wrong about things without being delusional.
And what about Islam? Is Islam wrong?
Yeah, I would say that Islam is wrong. Yeah, they're wrong as well.
So you feel that all of us were somehow just making this up, just going along with the flow. That all of us.
I think that your parents and your communities taught you things that they believed were true.
All right,
and so now you believe that they're true.
All right, so you've ever been to like a church whereby someone who's blind and then he gets healed, or someone who's deaf?
I've never seen such a thing. No.
Miracles at all.
I've never seen a miracle. No.
Okay, would you search any pastor who's ever done a miracle? Like,
I've definitely heard about claims of these things happening, but I've never actually seen like these confirmed things actually happened.
But on the scientific side, it's never been investigated at all. Like, they've never bothered.
I've never seen scientific evidence that these miracles actually happened.
Exactly. So why doesn't science actually try to investigate the supernatural?
Well, I imagine that they do, and then they just end up showing, oh, this wasn't a miracle, or oh, there's no good reason for this.
Or perhaps
there's no good reason to think that this was a miraculous healing, for example. Like, I imagine that does happen quite a lot, and then they just aren't they're not interesting because, like, obviously there was no miracle, and so they don't get plastered across the press.
So the reason Israel exists right now is not because of the past and Moses and all that. What do you think brought it to this day for Jerusalem to be?
The reason why Israel as a nation state exists is because there was a growing nationalist movement started in Europe in like the 1800s amongst Jews, because Jews were being essentially persecuted, and there was a nationalist movement, and that nationalist movement was connected with the religious tradition. The religious tradition indicates that that group of people, the Jewish people, have a cultural tie and an ethnic tie to that particular region of the world. So there was a political movement that eventually led to the establishment of a Jewish nation state. Like, that's how it happened. Like, that's the history.
So when God says, like in Ezekiel, where he would send a whole war around the world, and that's 2 times right now, 2 world wars. Yeah, so he says about it. So God already foretold about this event, right? And the Jews were already from that land. So because of World War II, they were able to return, and God said God would restore Israel, and Israel is restored according to his will.
Well, to be clear, Israel, like the notion of a nation state didn't really exist 2,500 years ago. Like those didn't exist. There were empires and there were city states, right? So like to say that the modern nation state of Israel, which, declared independence, and there's like a whole messy history there. The modern nation state of Israel is not the nation of Israel as described in the Hebrew Bible, right? Like they didn't even have the notion of a nation state with a central government back then. That wasn't a thing. There were empires and there were city states.
They kind of had judges before they actually went to asking. They copied kingdom.
I think that you're confused over what I'm saying. They did, like, the notion of, like, the modern notion of a city state, the modern notion of a nation state, which is what all modern countries are, would have been a completely foreign concept to people 2,500 years ago.
Specifically among who, like before the times of King Saul or David, who, like?
Yeah, those are kingdoms, not nation states.
Exactly. So why are you saying it was? To mean a nation state would mean maybe democracy, but by then they were following.
No, it doesn't even have to be a democracy. You can have a nation state. A nation state is like a modern concept.
They do have one. They even had the shekel, right?
I have no idea what you're saying.
They had an army. They had an army to protect them.
That's not clear.
Then what would you define a nation state? What makes a nation state?
Do you want to pull up an official definition? We can pull up an official definition if you want.
Yeah. Go on.
A sovereign state, so we would have to look up what sovereign means. A sovereign state whose citizens or subjects are relatively homogeneous in factors such as language or common descent. It's a sovereign political entity where the population largely shares a common culture, language, ethnicity, or history, meaning the political borders align with the cultural group's territory, creating a unified national identity. It combines the state's centralized government, defined territory and sovereignty with the nation's shared identity, deriving legitimacy from this cultural cohesion, with countries like Japan often cited as examples. That's actually probably a closer definition to an ethno-state, but the point still stands. Like, this notion of a nation state is a fairly modern idea.
So somehow you don't accept the fact that God came on Mount Sinai and all that in his miraculous ways, right? Because God is beyond actually someone getting him the sense of science. I mean, he's God. He was there in a vacuum of space.
I don't know where are we
creation,
going
right?
with this.
I'm telling you, you're getting me to help you, to get you understand.
We just need to move on to another caller, because maybe there's a language barrier there. But like, this notion of a nation state, like with well-defined borders, with like sovereignty, with accepted well-defined borders amongst the international community, like, this is all modern stuff. All right, let's talk to Batman. Batman, how's it going?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Batman.
Okay, but I'm not here to convert you to like a specific religion. I'm just saying, do you believe that God could be energy? Like,
No,
energy
I
can
don't.
either be created.
Let's talk to Go Caving.
Hi, Blitz.
Go Caving, how's it going?
It's great, dude. I just went to Dave and Buster's and I won a bunch and I got a speaker. It's pretty cool.
Glad to hear it. Talk to Kaiser Saucet. Kaiser, how's it going?
Oh, yeah.
Your mic is super, super low, by the way.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me better? Nearer to me.
It's super low.
Here, wait. Give me a second.
Okay.
Hello.
Welcome. I think it's a little bit better. Never mind. Still pretty quiet.
Sorry. I'm trying my best, but yeah, I'm not calling because I have any specific beliefs, but rather because I have a question towards people that do have Abrahamic beliefs and Druidic and different, well,
Okay.
from whichever roots.
But look, the background says opposition only, so I'm gonna have to let you go. Let's talk to Boris. Boris, how's it going?
Hey, what up, man? Is my mic okay?
Your mic is fine. Boris, do you believe in a god?
Yeah, more particularly in the Catholic version of the Christian faith.
Okay,
if we have
great.
to be accurate.
Yeah, sure. So, do you
can
think
I ask
that?
you a question?
I suppose if it's going to be if it's going to lead us to an argument for God, or evidence for God, or something like that.
Have you read the Thomas Aquinas work, Five Proofs?
No, I haven't.
It is Thomas Aquinas is a saint of the Catholic Church who is really has a way with words. Yeah, and that specific book is him trying to, through logic and not faith-related argumentation,
Right. So,
prove the
which
existence
argument do you?
of
So
the God.
why not make one of his arguments, whichever one you think is best? Because I've interacted with them before. I'm not particularly compelled by any of them.
Oh, fair enough. Didn't know you have a kid. Well, the way that I got kind of sucked into Christianity was, how do you get objective morality and the concept of objective truth without source of that, like the first source argumentation?
So when you say objective, do you mean mind independent, or do you mean something else?
Yeah, like independent of interpretation.
Oh. So Sure. Okay. So in that sense, I think that there's probably some room for objective truth, namely that there are facts of the world that are independent of interpretation. That doesn't seem like it needs a source. There just needs to be a state of affairs that is a certain way and not a different way. And then I don't think that there is really a universal objective morality in the sense that you mean. I just don't think that that exists.
Fair enough. That's too long of an argument to have on this specific stream. But like, I'm not really sure if you are aware of the postmodern kind of debunking of the idea that objective reality exists, which I tried as an atheist like 2 years ago. I tried going to any idea to debunk that notion that out of, let me rephrase, that there is no objective truth that isn't up to interpretation.
I never said that there was no objective. I never said that. I don't know. Like, I don't hold that view. If you define objective truth
I'm
as
not saying that you said it. I'm sorry for the misunderstanding, man.
but then why are we talking about it?
I was going into
like, if it's not my view and it's not your view.
Well, yeah, but how do you prove the existence of objective reality without a source for that? Because anyone can say,
I don't know what you mean by
the brain in a vat. How do you
so
debunk
the
the brain in
world
a
is
vat
a certain
line
way.
of argumentation?
Look, the world is a certain way. However it is, it's just objectively the case that it is that way. Now, we might not know the way the world is, but that doesn't mean that the world isn't a certain way. It doesn't mean that that objective truth, as you call it, doesn't exist. It just means that we might not know what the objective truth is.
But how do you prove to like someone who doesn't think objective truth is a thing? How do you? You're gonna tell them 2 + 2 is 4, like something very
No,
simple.
I will tell them that the
And they're
world
gonna
is
say,
no. I would tell them that the world is a certain way, and
Okay.
it's not another way. That's what I would tell them.
Okay, like a good way to put it is a person that doesn't understand biology could say, well, what I perceive as blue, you could perceive as red.
Yeah.
Like that line of thinking. How do you go about explaining to them that that's wrong?
Why do I need to explain to them that that's wrong? That could be the case. They could have their wires crossed in their brain or something like that.
No, I don't mean in the literal case. Okay, fair enough. You could go to the next guy because I don't think we're getting anywhere. Cheers, mate. Good
All right,
combo.
thanks for being here, Boris. Y'all, I probably should end the live here. I know it's a short-ish live. But I probably should end it because I have a meeting in like an hour and I have to eat lunch and make some coffee. Yeah, so I think that we're gonna end it here. Before we go though, I have some super chats to read, and I should check over the cash apps and things like this just so I don't miss any. Let's just double check the cash apps real quick because I always miss those first. Looks like we don't have any cash apps present. I do have a lot of emails that I'll have to go over. That's really annoying. Okay, anyway, let's read some cash apps, or some super chats. From Binary Ghosts with the $10. What if those many people that were visited didn't know who they were? Would you record some rando showing up claiming to be recently dead? You'd dismiss them as a drugged out loon. Well, maybe that's true, but then how did Matthew know that they went up to many people? And from Chase Martin with the $10, I get tired of the, quote, I tried being an atheist, then I studied X trope, immediately followed by showing that you never studied or thought seriously about X. You're just lying to seem like less biased. Look, so some people, I have a hard time believing that people are actually lying about this. I generally think that people mean like, you know, I used to be an atheist and then I watched and then I studied physics and then I became not a physics. I take that to mean that they used to be an atheist or they used to hate God. They were never an atheist, but they were like mad at God for whatever reason. And then they went and they watched a YouTube video by some evangelical type talking about the Big Bang. I take that to be what they mean when they say, then I studied X, because that's probably what they actually mean by that, because I don't know what it means to actually study these things in depth. All right, y'all, before I go, remember, if you're 18 plus, you should join the Discord server. Go to discord.gg/drblitz. You know, it's just Dr. Blitz, but not written out, just abbreviated DR and then Blitz. It's a great place to get announcements about when I'm posting videos, when I'm going live, when I will be on other people's live streams, when I will be on various other shows like The Line or The Atheist Experience. It's a great place to get those announcements and also talk with like-minded people, especially across platforms. If you're watching on YouTube, you can talk with TikTok people and vice versa. So, until Sunday, you will have to go on without me. I will be live on Sunday with Justin and Ian, probably. I mean, I'll be around. I don't know if they're going to be around. And I'll see you guys then for some more debate content. Until then, take care of yourself.